really, they're affordable.
Like, oh, I won't forget this panel, but I probably should, like, it was like,
Yeah.
not just, because anytime kids want to find better.
How old were the kids?
Teenager, I mean, one was
Yeah, they look
they
like.
might have all been, one might have been eighth grade, I can't remember exactly, but.
Okay.
So, students with, most of them are multi.
Yeah.
They don't think people don't like email. Everybody
They
has
had
like
like one of them
Take
said,
back.
someone actually was asking the question, like, why is
big bag.
Yeah, they can like. Yeah, like, think about,
Yeah,
it's
it's like this whole
and like, we can
capital reserves.
essentially like nothing.
Take back the classroom.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
My email.
Yeah.
Now every day I get one of these.
It's the game. It's good to not interrupt you.
Yeah, she is.
Okay. Alexia's good. She said she was on.
Yeah, it looked like it was good. And
Hey, tomorrow I have a 12 o'clock, but everything else is in there. Everything else is open if you want to. I made it right? You did, you got it right on time.
Yeah.
Did you see, did you come from Mary or did you come from, you came from the, or did you come from Mary? There's a collection of road signs coming from Mary. Did you see them? No, you came. I know, but you remember, so I came down Mary and it's very kind, very wise, Princess Materia. So judge, I'm like, okay, that's a different mix up. She's really nice. Northern City. Oh my goodness. There you go.
it is one of the.
Yeah, you see as well. It's flexible.
Yeah. You don't have, like.
Sometimes
All of them, right?
that's right. I got the text.
You gotta stay tuned.
It is 6:12, so I'm calling to the meeting tonight. Today is Thursday, October 24, and it's already 6:01. So I see that everybody is here from the board. And before we start, let's do the translation first. Today we have live translation, and please the people online tell us how to get to the live translation services that we have.
Good evening, everyone. The Zoom interpretation feature will be used during this meeting. We will provide Spanish support, and all participants on this call must select their language of preference by clicking the language when the host turns on the interpretation feature. This is found in the world icon located on your feature panel. Interpretation for this meeting will be conducted simultaneously. Thank you. Buenas tardes, se utilizará la función de interpretación de Zoom para proporcionar apoyo en inglés y español. Todos los participantes de esta llamada deben seleccionar su idioma de preferencia haciendo clic en el idioma correspondiente cuando el anfitrión active la función de interpretación. Dicha función se encuentra en el panel de herramientas en el icono del globo terráqueo. El modo de interpretación para esta reunión será el simultáneo. Gracias por su atención.
Good evening, and please, don't worry about that, join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now please join me for the living land acknowledgement. Sunnyvale School District is located on the ancestral and unceded land of the Mohiba Ogron tribe, who have peacefully honored and cared for this land for thousands of years. We recognize that every member of the Sunnyvale community continues to benefit from the use and occupation of this land. We acknowledge our responsibility to learn from the wisdom of the Ogron people and to consider how we might work to repair injustices and to move forward together in honorable ways. And with that, we need to approve the agenda today. This is item number 2. Before we approve, if anyone has a comment referring only to this particular item, which is the agenda as it is, this is the time to speak, online or in person. Okay, seeing no comment, board, do we have a motion to accept the agenda as it is?
I move to accept tonight's agenda as listed.
I'll second that.
Okay, perfect. If everybody wants to approve the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, aye, and with that, we have agenda. So we move forward, our first item, we're gonna have the public comments, general public comments after. Right now, we might have after the study session, the comments, which is, so you know, depending on where your comments are, as I see a lot of people.
Just study session.
Oh, okay, perfect.
And then this is adjourned.
For the general ones, it's gonna be probably an hour. Okay, so with that, we move to a study session, which is 3A. And today we are gonna be looking at our facility master plan and bond program. And for that, we are gonna have a presentation with our Director of Facilities and Operations, Brand Burns. Welcome.
All right, good evening, everyone. Jesus, thank you. All right, so tonight we are here to go over the facilities master plan and bond program to provide an update to the board. Awesome. So briefly reviewing the agenda for tonight, we'll quickly go over a recap from the fall update provided to the board in April. We'll talk about how the California School Facility Research Institute ties into our facility master plan, our strategic plan, and what we'll be prioritizing at the end of this agenda item. We'll dive into the facility master plan scopes of work, making sure that every board member understands each one of them. We'll briefly review each one of the educational partners' priorities, both conducted from surveys back in 2020, as well as updated data points for the board to consider from the leadership here in Sunnyvale. We'll briefly look at a financial overview, and then we will conduct a very exciting board exercise with the board back there. We'll ask the board members to prioritize their votes on the scopes of work. I do want to highlight that I do get excited when I talk about facilities and campuses and all that, so I'm just going to reiterate in case I forget to do it later. Main objective of today is to provide you all with enough information to cast votes at the end of this study session to prioritize scopes of work. With that information, district staff is going to prepare and present project lists based on a lens of equity. We have enough information from our facility assessment records to determine what campuses would be next based on the priorities the board identifies. No formal action will be taken. The facility master plan is not going to be amended this evening, but when we bring back specific projects to the board, that is when amendments will be made to the facility master plan. All right, so back in February and March of 2022, the board adopted the facility master plan. As part of that process, the board weighed in on priorities and projects specifically from all the data and analysis from the facility master plan that we conducted through 2020 and 2021. From that point, and leading up to the end of summer 2025. I am proud to say that our team will have accomplished every single one of the projects the board identified. Some of the highlights being HVAC replacement or improvements at Fairwood, San Miguel, Vargas, and this coming summer, Cumberland. Digital marquees at every single campus. Covered canopy replacements at Cherry Chase and Vargas this coming summer. And the construction of a new 2-story classroom building at Sunnyvale Middle School.
That one's not quite.
Yeah, but summer 2025, it'll
It's
all
like
be
summer
done.
25.
Yeah. Now, tying that into our strategic plan. Since we adopted our facility master plan, we have since adopted a strategic plan. We, Arthur, our whole team are proud to be in a district in which we prioritize and our community prioritizes facilities. I truly believe in my 8 years here, both from training and education, that facilities not only impact, but directly correlate to how our students perform on our campuses. It's nice to be in a community that continues to support our bond efforts, and we're looking forward to the next batch of projects that we're going to be able to accomplish with the facility master plan. So, with the research that we'll go over later, we wanted to highlight these 2 goals from our strategic plan. California School Facility Research Institute. I'll refer to them as CSFRI from here moving forward, but I just want you guys to know that is what I'm going to be talking about. They did a comprehensive study, over 700 research papers. They compiled all the data and information to start to correlate how facilities and campuses in the physical environment play a role in our students' educational experience. Some of the highlights that I wanted to bring up were they noticed that students that are educated out of portables have a higher rate of absenteeism. Students that are warmer in a classroom have less focus than students that are in a cooler environment. They found out that students appreciate cooler environments rather than adults. These are just some of the key components of the CSFRI's research that we take into account every time we're deciding what kind of projects to accomplish here in Sunnyvale School District. As I mentioned, CSFRI's research was based on 700 peer-reviewed papers, and they include 3 major components that go into their evaluation of how it impacts student achievement and academic performance. It is indoor environmental quality, it is spatial environment, and it is a people and community associated with campuses. I wanted to highlight a couple of components, right? Indoor environmental quality, what does that mean? That is anything from the thermal environment, the acoustics, the views, the lighting, how the space feels to the students and staff that are inside the classroom. This had the most data backed up on how it impacts student achievement. Spatial environment, how the campus feels, how it flows, how it's maintained, and how operations takes care of it. When you have buy-in, when you have ownership of your campus, you take pride in it. Funny enough, you actually want to be there. Campuses that are maintained at a higher level have students that want to be at their campuses. Lastly, the people and community, you can tie that into the first 2. People want to be a part of a campus that is well maintained, that looks good, that is functioning well. Those are all components brought up in CSFRI's analysis. Some of the key highlights from that research paper are shown here. I'm not going to read them verbatim, but it talks about students being educated out of portables. It talks about how the scores increase when the temperature in the classroom decreases. And they're fun little snippets for you guys to enjoy. Now, as I mentioned before, the goal of tonight will be to have the board prioritize the next scope of work that district staff execute on. In order to properly do that, we wanted to briefly review the 17 scopes of work in the facility master plan to make sure there's no questions on them. I will not read all these verbatim. However, scope 1 talks about modernization and deferred maintenance. As an example, everything on a campus has a useful life, an expected useful life, a remaining useful life, but a useful life. When we're talking about modernization and deferred maintenance, it is spending money to replace those. For instance, older classrooms with older finishes, older electrical, older AV, older windows, those would be replaced under deferred maintenance and modernization. Reconfiguring. Imagine an existing building with 3 classrooms in it. To reconfigure that classroom space, we're talking about removing the interior walls and basically repurposing that for another program or function. Safety and security. I wanted to highlight this one again because when people think of safety and security, you think of locks and cameras and things that will keep people out or in. This scope of work also included digital marquees and covered canopies. I wanted to highlight that there because safety and security was something that we focused on coming out of that April 2022 board meeting. One of the things that district staff took from the April update was that we wanted to try to accomplish projects at every campus, spread the money out instead of focusing on one campus at a time, moving slowly across the district. There are many options that you can have in regards to scopes of work that would address multiple campuses. Flexible furniture was just an example we wanted to put out there. Relatively confined scope of work in which you could make a large improvement across the district with a single project. Now, jumping into previous data points. Again, I will not read every single one of these, but we did want to bring these forward to the board for consideration. During the FMP process, we sent out countless surveys to every educational partner that we could think of, as well as our community members. So we wanted to make sure we highlighted them. In 2020, the top 3 priorities for our principals was classroom reconfiguration, multi-purpose room food service, science, arts, and electives.
The spring of 2020, was during the pandemic or?
Correct.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry.
For teachers and staff at the time, site-wide modernization and maintenance, restrooms and power access, flexible furniture. I do find it interesting at the top 3 priorities depending on user groups. What you'll see is, sorry.
Clarifying question.
Yep.
Power access, what does that mean?
Funny enough, it means adding additional outlets like in classrooms, not the restrooms specifically.
Thought so, but also, yeah.
I agree with you. It's an interesting place to have it. But you'll see the user groups of the actual classrooms and restrooms in the campus have much different priorities than the community, and the people that don't access the classrooms. Students' top priority, I should have asked you guys if you could guess before I switch the slide, but top 2 priorities being restrooms and exterior play spaces. Parents and community, top 3, again, this is the peak of COVID. Restrooms, power access, outdoor learning environments, site-wide modernization and maintenance. Now, those were all data points that we took back as we were developing the facility master plan. So we wanted to provide an updated data point for the board's consideration. Over the last 2 months, we developed the same exercise that you'll be going through tonight. We ran this by principals and assistant principals and had them weigh in on what their top 10 priorities would be. Same voting schedule as you guys will have later. We also asked all the cabinet members what their priorities would be. We put those all together, and our top 3 priorities from district leadership this year are site-wide deferred maintenance, safety and securities, restrooms, and power access. In total, that was 210 votes cast by all the leadership here in Sunnyvale School District. Now, as part of the update in April, we went over the financials. Coming out of the Sunnyvale Middle School 2-story classroom building, we were projected to have a little over $9 million left. After the successful passing of Measure C, we then decided to focus on the rest of Sunnyvale Middle School because that was the priority at the time. Coming out of the middle school modernization project in totality, we are projecting to have $150 million left in Measure C. So part of tonight is prioritizing how we're going to be spending those bond funds. I wanted to include this because this is something we refer back to often when we're planning and putting together rough budgets and scopes for our projects. These were all the costs associated with each scope of work at each campus during the facility master plan. We take these and we escalate them forward depending on the escalation factor at the time to give rough budgets of what it's going to cost in today's dollars to perform these scopes of work. One thing I wanted to draw attention to was Sunnyvale Middle School was projected to cost $100 million in 2022. What district staff did is we escalated that number forward after we already had the 2-story classroom project in contract and came up with a budget value of $111 million. You take that away from the 275 and that's where you would be. Now, this is where I think I lost a lot of principals and assistant principals and probably most of cabinet. But this right
So
here,
if we follow, we're smarter than that.
yeah, or just don't share the same.
Fingers crossed.
Uh-huh. I guess I don't mean lost them. I guess I mean like they didn't see the enthusiasm like I do. This is a little snapshot of 4,500 rows of data. Everything in our entire district categorically categorized on remaining useful life, expected cost, estimated life, escalation factors. This is a little tiny snip of that. So when we're talking
Clarifying
about,
question.
yes.
So is this from this year or is this from, this is current?
So this is, all that information and data was collected during the facility master plan.
So
So
this is
each-
from 2022.
Yes, but we have the ability to like roll forward.
Yeah.
So like something with a remaining useful life in 2021 now has a remaining useful life of 0.
Thank you.
Of course. This is what we're talking about when we're talking about an equitable approach to whatever project scopes we determine to be the highest priority. We will take the information from the exercise tonight. We'll jump into all this data and figure out what campuses should be next based on this hard data. This allows us to take a very analytical approach to this.
So that, for example, you will see when you need to replace a window in a particular classroom in the next few years.
Exactly. Windows, HVAC, flooring, walls, everything. It is truly like an impressive document.
One more clarifying question, sorry. So for Sunnyvale Middle School, for example, they're undergoing just renovation, fund renovation, but they have 1 million plus change for their hard school site categories for their playground, exterior play spaces and hard courts. So that's on top of the project. So or would it already be included in the project,
Correct.
but it would get billed that way, or it's just, is it coming out of the bond money that already allocated? Like,
So
you know, you said you'd have 115 left over, is that
taken care of?
Is that already taken care of, or is that?
everything identified for Sunnyvale Middle School will start at 0 after that project's over. All that cost is accounted for. Like, this is not additional cost on top of the comprehensive modernization project that's happening out there.
But I think the one that you're looking is the prior one, which is until 2022, so it's a different data.
Can you, sorry, you were back.
So
The-
it's
the
line,
prior, that
So
one.
what you're asking is that
Oh.
$100,000 there, is that the
That's a
100,000?
million.
I mean, 100 million, sorry, yeah, that 100 million, what you're asking is that what's accounted for in the 110, or is it different? Is that what you're asking, or no?
No, what has been spent, that's a good question, like, this 100 million, 658, that it says school site total until 2022. So that has been spent until 2022?
No. So what that's, the final column on the right in 2022 is showing you how much that project or those projects cost in 2022 dollars. What we as district staff did was took the total at the bottom of Sunnyvale Middle School's column. We escalated that forward to $111 million. And that is Sunnyvale Middle School's comprehensive modernization project budget.
Okay, so that number, that $1 million number for playgrounds or any of those, anything in the Sunnyvale Middle School column is done.
Done, wipe out,
Okay.
like, that'll be
That's
addressed.
what I want.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any other columns like that, like Ellis or anything, or?
Good question. So Ellis actually was not included in the facility master plan because as we were doing the facility master plan, Ellis was already in contract to be done. And you'll notice like Bishop has very little to address in the next 10 years.
Mhm.
Now, what you won't see in these numbers, because this is a direct screenshot from the facility master plan, are things like, so we've updated HVAC at those campuses. We've done light modernization, we've removed canopies, we've added digital marquees. That work has been done and has not been pulled out of the numbers you see there.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Okay, so that is the presentation. At this point, I was gonna open it up for questions, but I wanted to go over the exercise just so everybody understood it and I can go over it again later. There's a board back there, whiteboard material. Each board member will have 10 votes that they can cast however they'd like on any given scope of work, meaning that if you thought, let's get an example. If you thought site utilities is a top priority, I picked that one because I am quite confident you guys aren't gonna pick that. But if site utilities were a top priority, you could cast 7 votes under site utilities. You would only have 3 remaining votes left though. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, we will talk about the general comments, but I think we were gonna try to put a maximum for,
Maybe 20 minutes, so we have.
no, I mean, a maximum of votes.
Oh,
You
so
want
yeah,
to
my
vote?
question on
Yes.
that was, so like, let's say I really wanted utilities.
Mhm.
And I just put all 10 of mine on utilities, and then like, other people had other priorities, but like, then utilities would definitely be a board priority, like, I don't know if that's really,
Yeah, it's like.
it doesn't sound,
Fair.
What if we do public comment and then when we get to,
Yeah.
I'm guessing none of us are gonna put all 10 on one thing, so we can just have a discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
if someone is, then maybe we say, hey,
Should.
we have them, because I'm guessing none of us are gonna do more than 2 or 3 or 4.
Yeah, but.
I haven't looked, I don't really know, right, you know,
Yeah.
but.
Okay.
and I,
Yeah, but I think the question was that before, it was unfair when we done this exercise and someone comes and put everything in one and that's the only person who cares about that one. And then it's like,
yeah,
And so,
although we all care about
everything.
Two things.
yeah, and then I'll follow up on that one. Okay.
Can we, before we do the exercise, and maybe after public comment, can we further define some of
For
these
sure,
things?
Yes.
of course.
They don't fall where I think they
We'll
should.
do our.
And then I was curious about one of the lines on here, for Lakewood's,
What, are you on the?
sorry, on that slide we were looking at earlier with the Sunnyvale Middle School column that you clarified. This is also a clarifying question. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. I had a mic. So we said that Sunnyvale Middle's column is wiped out. My question is about the Lakewood parking drop-off entry plaza. Maybe I should save this actually, never mind. I'll save this. This is like more a question than a clarifying question.
Okay,
Okay.
so with that, we're gonna have the public comments, so this is the moment where the public can talk about this particular issue, which is 3A in our agenda. So if you have a comment or question regarding the facility master plan, please raise your hand or bring a card to the back. So we have
6 here.
okay, we have 6 cards for in person and 2 people online. So as usual, we're gonna start with the people who came.
Probably between 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
How many? 6?
Something like
8.
4 minutes.
So can we do 24 minutes? 2.5.
Yeah, 2.5? Okay, so we're gonna do today 2.5 minutes for each, so, 2.5 minutes. So we're gonna try to get this in less than 25 minutes, a little bit more anyway, but try to. Okay, so we're gonna start with Kathy Rowland from San Miguel. Please come and you have a comment related to this question, you have 2.5 minutes, please.
Good evening. My name is Katie Rowland, and I am a San Miguel and a CMS parent in the district now. Thank you all so much, Brant, for all the work you've done and for the whole leadership team and putting together some thoughtful data collection and trying to engage the community to hear a little bit more about their desires. I really appreciate the efforts to foster welcoming, functional, and safe learning spaces. I wanted to weigh in tonight to ask you to prioritize all access gender inclusive bathrooms at every SSD school. And I want you to feel urgency around this issue, and not just because the Senate Bill 760 requires a gender neutral bathroom by 2026 in July, but because you care about the lived experience of students in your district. So the law states that this requirement isn't fulfilled by our kindergarten or our TK bathrooms, and it isn't fulfilled, according to the California Department of Ed, by an all-inclusive bathroom and a staff workroom. And I came to you before when this presentation was made and explained a little bit about why those are some problematic solutions and how they negatively affect our gender diverse and trans youth in the district. How using a bathroom in the front office requires you to out yourself, essentially, to receive permission to use that space and to justify why you're there. And how if you decide to walk that far, you miss out on instructional time, recess time, and movement opportunities compared to your cisgender peers. I want to make sure that you all prioritize and find sufficient funding to fulfill your legal and ethical obligations for gender inclusive bathrooms. And I want to be clear, my expectation is, mine personally, if you have sex segregated bathrooms right by the playground for our elementary school students, then I expect to see a gender inclusive bathroom there too, because the law states that they must be equally accessible as sex segregated bathrooms. So that's what I'm sharing with you to make sure that's what your funding looks like as well. I would like to also confirm, because I saw a couple sites had $0 in their bathroom budget for Ellis and Bishop. So I'm hoping that means that they already have these functional all access gender inclusive bathrooms and that we're using those as pilot sites to receive information about how that's working for our students and administrative team. But if we aren't, I'd like to know why they've got $0. And I'd like to encourage you to read all of the guidance at the California Department of Education website, the Santa Clara County Office of Education, and recent studies on how we can protect the mental health of our trans youth. Thank you.
Thanks. With that, our next comment will come from Peggy Brewster.
Hello, my name is Peggy Chen Brewster. I am a parent of 2 kids at Bishop Elementary. Thank you so much for your work, especially Brent and Gang on the presentation. And I'm really proud to be part of a district that does prioritize our facilities and part of a community that is putting their money there as well. I want to remind us of environmental literacy and outdoor learning as an avenue for standards-aligned hands-on learning. And I'd also like us to lean into our community partners. Going to the beautiful ribbon cutting at Ellis earlier this year, I saw some really lovely facilities, but also swaths of turf and I was thinking, ooh, if these were native gardens, wouldn't that be amazing? Or pollinator gardens, you know? And I bring that up specifically and as a leaning into community partnering because I know that the Ed Foundation did reach out to the district about identifying and funding gardens at Ellis during the construction period. And sadly, that didn't happen at the time. So as we're thinking about our promise to our kids, ready for a meaningful life, high school and beyond, I want us to think also about our kids as global citizens, wherein having a responsibility and a relationship to the earth that we're in. That is also an opportunity that we have. If we have our students here for so many hours in a day, this might be the only opportunity that many have to have these kinds of rich hands-on opportunities outdoors with music education. And I do think that they aren't really so much enrichment as avenues for learning, standards aligned. And there are some really great programs that would give us that opportunity to meet those needs of students that might not already have already. So thinking in terms of equity and anti-racism, I wonder if we have opportunities to create campuses that will cultivate joy and purpose. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, our next speaker is Veronica Brand.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Veronica Brand. I am a parent of 2 children in the Juntos program at San Miguel Elementary. Thank you for this presentation on the FMRP, and thank you, Brant, I was especially grateful to see the impact of the built environment on student success and how that plays a major role, plays a role in learning. One thing I wanted to mention is that some of this FMRP data was done when schools were closed. I think it was, I don't remember if it was the year that was virtual learning or the year after that when the students were back in the classroom, so parents weren't allowed inside the gates, basically, or at least at my campus. And so I didn't get to see the classrooms or what they were like, so the data was a little bit skewed by that. I'd like to see, since so much outreach was done with the strategic plan for last year, I'd like to see, I see that there's portraits of a learner, what that looks like. And I'd like to see some of those prioritized in the plan. For example, when we say that a Sunnyvale learner is healthy of mind and body, I think that has tangible things that we can, concrete things that we can do in terms of facilities. For example, effects on food services, what those what kitchens are capable of cooking. For the outdoor play area, are those safe, accessible, and what do those look like? Are there water bottle refill stations at all of the campuses, et cetera? What's that level of access to nature, which is also important for student mental health. When we say that students can experience an inclusive environment, does that include gender neutral, safe bathrooms that are available to everybody? So again, just like to encourage you to look at that. Also, one more point I'd like to make is as a reminder that oftentimes when I hear the word equity, I look at what's done and it's often actually often equality of, it's just easier to do, right? Everyone has the same thing. And I ask, how is equity going to be seen through here? For example, when we think about students have different needs. And so I've heard from the school board before that you treat each student kind of based on what they need. Is this the same case for schools as well? Do they have different needs? And will they, even if a priority kind of a function is across the whole thing, is it equally, you give an equal amount to each school, or will you prioritize the schools that need it most? Thank you.
Thank you. And the next person would be Aileen Lewin from Bishop Elementary.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the leadership here. Thank you to Brant for his presentation, and especially our translator tonight. I might speak a little fast. My name is Eileen Bloom, and I am a parent of 2 students at Bishop Elementary. I'm also on Bishop's PTA as their garden committee chair. And for the past 2.5 years, I have been working with volunteer parents and students to rejuvenate their student garden. Tonight, I want to talk to you about the importance of green spaces in our elementary schools and hope that you consider incorporating as many as possible in your facilities master plan. Green spaces are essential for our students, not just for fun, but for their overall academic, social, emotional, and physical development. Research shows that time spent in nature boosts creativity, enhances focus, and reduces stress. When children play and work in nature, they're not only getting exercise, they're also learning valuable social skills, teamwork, and problem solving. Just today, I witnessed Bishop 5th graders work together to figure out how to transport soil from one end of the Bishop garden and into a raised bed. Using a wheelbarrow, they figured out that they need to work together to tip the wheelbarrow and soil over into the bed, rather than to individually shovel dirt into the bed. With teamwork, they were able to work smarter, not harder. These experiences outside gardening also foster a sense of connection to the environment, an awareness of where their food comes from, and encourage empathy for all living things. After these 5th graders filled the bed with soil today, they planted lettuce seedlings, and I can bet you, based on their enthusiasm, these students will not let these plants die from thirst or disease. Green spaces promote environmental stewardship. By cultivating gardens or caring for plants, students develop a sense of responsibility and an understanding of sustainability, food systems, and nutrition. They learn that their actions matter and that they too can contribute positively to the planet by simply taking care of the garden and its critters within. Finally, investing in green spaces at elementary schools is investing in our children's mental and physical health. School gardens in particular can be used as a tool that contributes positively to a curriculum's academic rigor. Once again, I encourage you to create school campuses where green spaces and student gardens can thrive. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And our next speaker in person will be,
Andrea Wall.
I believe there is an urgent need to amend a specific statement in your master plan. The plan specifically says that your sustainable strategies are being looked at in an effort to provide healthy environments and act as a good steward of the environment. Two key components are conserve natural resources and reduce environmental impacts. But following sustainable strategies is cited as being teachable moments for students. One specific statement on page 12, install artificial turf, must be eliminated. As per all of the research and science that was shared with you earlier this year, artificial turf is neither sustainable nor healthy for the environment. In addition, it's only going to make schoolyards hotter and more dangerous for students. In July 2023, Governor Newsom announced that CAL FIRE was providing $46 million in grants to help schools convert asphalt to green spaces and plant trees and other vegetation, all in order to help make schoolyards cooler and to protect kids from dangerous extreme heat. Then there's the $117 million Green Schoolyard Grant Program, also helping schools to create areas for children that will be cooler and connect them to nature. It's part of the governor's Extreme Action Plan, Heat Action Plan, backed by $52.3 billion California Climate Commitment budget. What Governor Newsom said, California is heading into a hotter, drier future, and extreme heat will only become more dangerous. We're taking action to protect our kids from hotter temperatures with our best defense, nature. Note, artificial turf is plastic. Grass is natural and much cooler than artificial turf surfaces. And according to Jennifer Newsom, school greening is a win-win for California students, communities, and the environment. By cooling and shading outdoor areas, we're mitigating the dangerous impacts of extreme heat and pollution. Investment in green spaces where children can safely learn, move, and explore, nurture their physical and mental well-being, and bolster long-term community health and resiliency. Please remove the statement regarding installing artificial turf. It is nowhere aligned with your plan for sustainability, a healthy environment, and doing what's best for your students. This would be an excellent teachable moment for students. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker tonight is Courtney Jansen.
Okay, I'm Courtney Jansen, parent with 2 kids in the San Miguel Juntos program, and I have planned all week to write a speech. I didn't get that far, so I'm gonna just wing it. So I do want to thank everyone for putting this together, and I want to thank the board for the last time that I was here for the really fascinating and great conversation you all had about the need to green our schoolyards. I remember moving to Sunnyvale many, many years ago, and being surprised that for living in Sunnyvale, kids were inside for so much. And so I really appreciate the conversation of how do we get kids outside? How do we expand outdoor learning environments in schoolyards? What else do I want to say? I want to talk about, so there's this program called 1,000 Hours Outside. And the idea is that kids should spend 1,000 hours outside every year. That's 2.75 hours per day. I did not do this program because I didn't think I could succeed. My sister in Minnesota did the program and she did it. It was amazing. But you think about that 2.75 hours per day, right? And the fact of the matter is kids aren't going to get that when they go home at 2:15 or 2:30 at the end of the day. So it is, like I said, super important to get as much of that as we can within our schools at Sunnyvale. The outdoor time and learning, more recess, whatever, is great for kids. They focus better, especially my kindergartner needs all that as so many other kids. Also, obviously, since I'm here on the artificial turf component, I echo the suggestion and request to get rid of artificial turf. It's not sustainable. I did not take pictures of this. I knew I was going to regret it, but I didn't. I've been on the San Miguel campus some of those very hot days we've had recently. Kids are playing on the playground after school, and they are hiding in the shady spots of artificial turf. And it's not just because it's hot in general, it's because the artificial turf is super hot. So as we look at our campuses, including the Sunnyvale Middle School plan, I really ask that you get rid of artificial turf everywhere possible. You know, any open green space should actually be naturally green space, not painted green space. And then the last thing I would say, can we bring outdoor student arts into this at all? So Sunnyvale painted their utility boxes, which I love. How cool would it be if we could find spaces at every single school where students participate in art? And it could be a wall, it could be a, I don't know, whatever, but I think that would be fantastic. So thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Thank you. And I believe we have 2 more people online.
Yes, the first speaker is Geeta, followed by Alex Calder.
Okay, please start with Geeta, and thank you for coming. You have 2.5 minutes.
Hi, my name is Geeta Golakota. I'm a parent of a second grader at Ellis Elementary. Thank you so much for the presentation on the facilities master plan. I went through that and I noticed some similarities across multiple documents shared in recent times. One is the Fordlands data, and Fordlands data that went through the sense of belonging for kids, sense of safety feeling for kids, and how the children reported their gender identity and feeling whether their gender identity is respected or not, feelings of safety in the school environment from the Fordlands data. And I'm also going through the facilities master plan where I've noticed that many students prioritized restrooms being one of the criterion that they would like to be addressed as part of facilities master plan. We know that 80% of LGBTQ community are likely to be neurodiverse according to the research data that is widely available online. We must understand that these restrooms are a big concern for the LGBTQ community to feel safe. Our mission itself says, you know, every student is known by need, and that is a basic need anybody has, and they need to feel a sense of belonging and the gender identity to be respected, and they need to feel safe and safe also. And not having access to gender neutral bathrooms is a big concern for many of the kids in this community. And I truly wish that we prioritize it because it is one of the #1 causes for bullying. That is where bullying happens, in the restrooms. And I wish we could prioritize the need that the students expressed to more readily address this issue without delaying this further. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And our next speaker online,
Alex Calder.
Okay, Alex Calder, welcome. Please, you have 2.5 minutes. And I think you're on.
Should be unmuted.
Probably you need to mute yourself. Okay, let's wait a few seconds. Nothing?
I'm not hearing from you, Alex. Sorry.
Yeah, we cannot hear you if you have a few more seconds if you want to come. There's a way for the computer.
Raise
his hand again. Okay, control.
Can you chat with him to find out, like, through the chat?
So he was
Maybe
there.
try one more time.
Yeah, if you can try one more time, please. We cannot hear you at all. Nothing.
How's that?
Ah,
There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. Confusion between microphones. My name is Alexander Calder. You can call me Alex. I have a first grader at San Miguel. I think most of my contemporaries have covered things much better than I could, but my concern is primarily at this point, page 12, and the install artificial turf. My concern is that you've chosen that as the option. And so I feel like that should have been amended to address the heavy parent response the last time. And it's just, if you want to bring a green space, then make it an actual plant. I see in here that there's a discussion of prioritizing planting material that is native or adapted, water efficient, and low maintenance, and that's awesome. But if we're going to put grass out there, let's just put grass, guys. I can't understand putting out plastic that, as someone else pointed out, the kids are hiding under the slide at San Miguel when it's 80 degrees out, because it's uncomfortable to be in that environment with the heat radiating back off. I think the district's pitching way too hard into that, and they really need to consider addressing that. And that's everybody else has covered the gender inclusivity, and honestly, the facility spreadsheet that you got there, that is excellent. So like, I see a lot of great things, but then I see page 12 and y'all are still sticking on the artificial turf. So I don't have eloquence. Come on, guys, pitch it. And with that, I just say I turn over to everybody here is working so hard. And I thank you for your work. I thank all the parents who stood up. Just maybe give it more consideration, because I don't think anyone there is actually qualified to make a serious decision about things like artificial turf. I think you guys just read little reports or I honestly haven't seen you guys ever supply any receipts. I saw a few board meetings ago that parents brought receipts. And with that, I turn over the floor to you guys.
Okay, thank you. With that, so we are moving to 3A, we're staying on 3A. So do we want to start with comments and questions, or we just move directly to the voting? And
we have
discussion. Clarification before?
Yeah.
Discussion for the voting, and then we vote. Okay. Brad?
Want to discuss?
Yes, we're gonna start with Nancy.
So, I wanna make sure. Sorry. So one of my concerns is that as we vote for things, it is a descriptor. And if there's something specific, how does that get reflected? So it's important, I think, I know you didn't want to go through each area, but there may be some areas that we need to go through to make sure that if we have a concern, how it might be expressed, and understanding that if we mark it as an area of priority, what that means to us may not be reflected in what you perceive after you get this information and go through your list and see who and determine which facility site has the highest need within that particular domain. So it became apparent to me as we were discussing that that's an area that I would like to explore a little bit more before we vote, just to make sure that if we mark something off as a priority, and there was some specific concerns that it's reflected that this is what we need by restrooms or exploring outdoor learning spaces. So that's a big area of concern right now. The other thing is that if we get into this idea formation, we also don't have an understanding about cost And how that then shifts what our list, what our top three would be, and whether or not we can, meet all of those needs.
So for the first question, it might be best if you ask me specific scopes and I can try to clarify. I do also want to highlight that from a facility master plan standpoint, right? It's a high level document meant to guide us.
Correct.
The facility assessment data that we have in that spreadsheet is very granular. I mean, that's down to the smallest
I
detail.
understand that, but that's kind of like the tension that I'm hearing tonight among some of the speakers, is that if we prioritize this, does that mean that their need will be expressed in the way that it's supposed to be expressed? So, for instance, restrooms as a
Yeah, so that's a good one. So I'll say that restrooms as defined in the scope of work here and in the facility assessment report, that is modernizing or remodeling restrooms. Now, I know that we are going to have a in-depth study session November 7th, sorry, not study session, review and discuss item in regards to all access restrooms. I can say that from the conversation with Aaron at QKA in the board meeting last week or the one prior, it's roughly the same cost in regards to developing an all access restroom, a multi-occupancy all access restroom, as it would be for a gender specific all access restroom.
and then outdoor space. So where would outdoor learning spaces fall?
Scope 14. So a little bit of both. So in regards to the facility assessment data, we would take a look at what outdoor learning spaces are currently on the campus, whether that's outdoor garden area, whether it's hardscape, softscape, and needing to be replaced. Each campus also has a facility master plan site plan where they developed a site plan based on their needs. When you're talking about outdoor learning environments for scope 14, that would be identified in each one of the specific campus site plans. If you're talking about specifics to each campus. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that certainly is very helpful. So there wouldn't be any overlap of that issue into 15, correct? Exterior play spaces, yes.
It would seem to be somewhat connected.
I was about to say there's probably some overlap, and until we develop an actual project scope, like a specific project scope for each campus, I would
Oh,
be
no,
guessing.
I'm just trying to understand about expressing, if we express something, where would it possibly fit in those were some.
Oh, okay.
You could put a sticker in between 14 and 15.
Yeah.
Or write a little note.
I think she had another.
Yeah, and then, the other area is, for cafeterias.
Mhm.
Kitchen space, where would that fall?
That is in scope number
Right, 5.
5. Yep.
Okay. Versus other. Those are the big ones. And the length of time we're talking about is how many years, or is this planning out for all the rest of the money?
No, so I'll address that two ways, and Arthur can step in if I misspeak. So in regards to timeline for these projects, so we accomplished $60 million worth of projects in 3 years, which is like really impressive based on the projects we did. Like, it's total compliment to the team that works with us. But for these next priority projects, it'd be like the next 3 to 5 years. We'd be trying to accomplish these projects in the next 3 to 5. These next three are gonna be pretty heavy with Sunnyvale Middle School, as well as trying to make sure we're feeding in just standard maintenance projects. But timeline, that was a really good question, and one I should have addressed in the presentation, but this would be the next like 3, 5, 7 years.
And, of course, I know you're really good at this. Whenever there are other funding opportunities that come through, we apply for those if it's going to be meeting our needs.
Correct. Like district staff always tries to take in. So for instance, I wrote down a couple of those grants that were set. I believe one was a green schoolyard grant. Is that correct? Okay, but yeah, I was trying to write them down fast. But yeah, district staff always tries to explore and go after grant opportunities when we have the ability.
Okay, thank you very much.
So there wasn't a lot of money in those grants.
That was 117.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, those grants are gonna go fast, but maybe we'll go look at it. Okay, that's all I was saying. Okay, thank you so much. This is kind of piggybacking, maybe it was kind of a question Nancy asked, maybe I have my own spin on it. I'm curious, so like, I'm gonna say this is what I'm thinking is what's gonna happen, and you tell me like, yeah, or no, I'm totally obvious. We do this, right, we put our numbers, we get the priorities kind of similar to like what stats were, right? And then we don't have numbers kind of around, so you take that, and then you look at all the different scopes of work, and then you might come back to us with, okay, this is kind of like when we did the SMS one, like here's all the SMS projects, we only have this much money or this much bandwidth for the next 3 to 5 years. So now that we have that, we make our little, these are the ones we're focusing on.
Exactly.
Is that what this process is like?
Exactly.
Okay. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I have like one comment that I'm gonna make, but then I'm kind of thinking, what if we just wanna like go through non-questions related to that, and then, I mean, Nancy did a little bit, but maybe we just go through each of those, right? We just say number one, he gives a quick explanation of people have questions, we ask it, right? We kind of, after we ask our other random questions, we do that, and then go vote, is what my brain's thinking, but I'm happy to do that, however other people want to do it. My only kind of non-related to the voting comment, and I guess it doesn't really matter, but just as we've been talking about the gender neutral bathrooms, my memory is that we had conversations about that during the FMP, and I thought it was in the FMP. So I was surprised that it wasn't there. And I could totally just be remembering wrong, and maybe it was right after it came out, we then had a conversation. Anyways, and
Maybe to be told, I would have to go back and look at meeting minutes notes.
okay,
I don't recall.
yeah.
But
And it might have been like a late edition, we might have had a comment, maybe it was like the last meeting and it was talked about. And it might have been.
Quite a bit in April, we talked about.
Well, yeah, no, but I'm talking in because like Isabel and I were on the committee, so it might have been in one of those meetings. It was maybe talked about, but it was the reminder, this is a very general broad, even if it's not there, it'll still be. But I just know we've been talking about it since. I just want kind of everyone to know that that has been a part of our conversations and it's been a priority. Even when we were working at FMP, even if it didn't make it into the like actual document.
yeah, for sure. I totally agree on that one. And for instance, I know it's a small step so far, but like Sunnyvale Middle School's 2-story classroom building has a gender neutral restroom in that building, not up in the nurse's office or anywhere else, like separated from the campus.
Okay, and that's all mine minus like, I want to kind of go through each of these before we vote.
I have so many questions. I don't even think I can like get them all out, but for right now, I want to ask, what is, Katie alluded to this during her comment, what is our legal obligation based on state law for gender neutral bathrooms?
Yeah, so Katie, you said July, I thought it was January, but 2026, every campus is required to have one gender neutral restroom accessible to students. She actually said it like verbatim.
Okay, and the law says that it must have the same accessibility standards as as the sex segregated bathrooms that currently exist.
Correct.
Okay, so what does that look like for us? Is this what we're talking about here? What does that look like for us? Are we on track for that? Is it something that we're going to be doing anyway, regardless of where docs go?
I think that we should probably say, those are great questions, and we should say for November 7th, when we're literally having a whole discussion.
Well, just the last
So,
one.
It's different though, because we did actually talk in April, and we gave direction, and we said, at that time, I think the question is like, why does this have to be one of our priorities if we have to do it anyway, and are we on track to do it anyway?
So, yeah, so it's a good
Like, I
comment.
don't wanna waste my little
Dots. So meeting.
stuff to vote for.
No, totally get it. So meeting the legislation, like that's one box. What we were talking about, what we've been talking about is how to develop and reimagine and understand how to improve the restroom experience for all students, period, end of statement. And that is what we talked about is a multi-occupancy approach. What Katie is alluding to and what SB 67, sorry, I think, thank you. Sorry, thank you. Speaks about a single restroom. We are starting to talk about multi-occupancy, all-access restrooms. So there are two different roads we're going down here. One is, just checking a box, and then I think what the board has been discussing is, going beyond that because we wanted to make sure that, I don't want to put words in the board's mouth, but yeah, just making sure that we're doing the right thing as a district.
So like if you want it more than the checkbox, you should put a sticker on bathroom space.
Because I'll just, signal to my colleagues that because restrooms have been such a high priority in like so many things at our Hispanic outreach meetings, like I'm gonna put a check there. I just don't know how many checks I'm putting there.
Put all 10.
Yeah, I've got all 10. Also, I had some other questions. I had one specifically about the column about under Lakewood for parking drop off and entry plaza. Lakewood right now is doing their whole like library thing. So does that number take that into account?
It does, surprisingly. So if you look on Lakewood's facility master plan site plan, it actually shows Lakewood Branch Library and the parking lot associated with it.
Also, at different campuses, that category of parking drop off and entry plaza might not all be the same space, but even if it's two different spaces, that's all category linked in that category, in that thing. Cause at Lakewood, you don't really drop off in the entry plaza, but that's a separate space, but those two are both in that
same bucket.
Okay.
In this one. I know, and I will say it is tough, right? Like, we're trying to define a whole project in just 17 scopes. So some get lumped into other scopes that you wouldn't necessarily think they'd be a part of.
And then this is kind of tangentially related to the entry plaza. I've heard feedback from parents that at Lakewood again, we kind of have a double entry, like you have the gate and then you have the office and then you have another gate. And I've heard feedback from parents that they don't feel that their campuses are necessarily as secure because they don't have that secondary gate measure. Is that a safety and security thing or is that an entry plaza thing?
Probably an overlap, to be honest. Like,
But I think this goes back to what Nancy said, like we'll put our dots and then we'll give reason why so they understand right. So I think that's
okay. Alright, I think that's all I have.
Okay.
Looks so bad.
Yeah, I have more, but those are the ones that bubble up.
Yeah. Okay, so, I understand you said we're not amending the document tonight, but I do wanna say that since this is an update to the facilities master plan, and since this is, like, it's allegedly a living document, I think that we should take feedback, hopefully we can get feedback about it, and then we can get an update, like as projects are approved or discussed, like for example, the artificial turf conversation that we had regarding the playground structures. I think the board approved it, but reluctantly, we approved it because it's the best solution right now for under those play structures. But I don't think that meant that, I really wanna see artificial turf in use at SMS, right? And so I know that in the new building at SMS, I was surprised to learn that in the new building at SMS, there's artificial turf laid out in there. And so I really don't wanna walk in there and see more. And then the architect was like, well, and you have artificial turf in your master plan, so we would use it in this big quad, cause it's on the list. And so I really think that as we're having these conversations, if there's something where there's a signal from the board that we're really, and I don't know if it's unanimous across the board, but we don't want to use, we appreciate that artificial turf is a solution, but to be used very sparingly. It's not gonna cause head trauma,
we can maintain it, it's safe, it's not gonna like buckle up and be some weird under the playground thing. Yes, it's not recyclable, it's not perfect, but that's what we've got right now underneath the play structures. I feel like, I know we're not trying to like incrementally change things, but we are gonna learn more things and have different information like going forward. So I mean, I personally would like to put in that the district come back with a proposed amendment for that section of the master plan. That would be my feedback, because I'm really shocked, I was really shocked that like the architect even brought it up as a solution for that courtyard thing. And then Isabel's like, oh yeah, it's already going into SMS, and we have lead time between now and then, and I would really love to know if there's any way to change that.
So I think Bridget's talking specifically about page 12 of the vision document that Alex was referring to. Is there a mechanism, if this is not the time to amend the facilities master plan, what is the mechanism to amend that?
So I'll try to answer both at the same time. So your question about if we're able to make changes prior to SMS and turf going in, right? So one of the things that district staff prepared was like a backwards map, if that is in fact what the board would want to do, right? So decision would have to be made by the board meeting on February 27th. Agenda items are due on February 14th. And the
Valentine's Day.
What?
Valentine's Day, what else are we doing?
Everyone loves that. With an opportunity to have a review and discussion item on that topic, if the board would like a review and discuss item on it, would be on January 16th.
And then you would come up with options, so that.
Yeah, there'd be multiple options to present, or if
I
we
would
just.
like to propose that for the board. I mean, would the rest of the board be interested in that, or?
I would like to discuss it in two scenarios. One is the quad area at SMS, and secondarily the athletic field.
Wait, the athletic field is not getting it.
Oh, okay, there we go.
No, don't.
So we can just take it out.
Don't even talk. We don't even wanna, are you looking for us?
So-
But I don't have football right.
So, and I do want to say that presenting options is not an issue. If the board is looking for like an in-detail deep dive on any sort of alternative softscape, including artificial turf, I would say we'd want to try to align that with the city. I mean, they're doing an entire study on that with a team of people. To have like our district staff try to pull and do a comprehensive study and analysis on AT and the impacts it has would be.
That's a good point, using their, when they finish their report, using their report to guide our work.
But I think that, this is one of those things that we say that they are living documents, but is, we are way living this. Like we talk about the gender neutral bathrooms when we were doing the facility. And I remember the discussions and then the architects were bringing like, oh yeah, I've seen it in this way or seen it in that way. I told them, well, Ali McBeal was in 2000 and they had one in their office too. Yeah, I'm old, I know. But it's like how new that can be, like it was already there. And we talk about it and but this apparently is not part of the plan, so it's a live document that I don't know, maybe someday somebody will be alive to see.
I would like to modify that statement around artificial turf, because I do stand by our decision to put it under the play structure for that use. I mean, I talked about why then, but I mean, I don't really think that it's something I would put on the menu
So
going
I
forward.
think what we can just do is just easily just ask, right, like essentially like ask staff to, at some point in the near future, going back, I don't know if we have to approve it or if that can just get changed, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, to pull that off of the
facilities
the spot that's specifically about being green and sustainable.
Okay, and this is another one, like we approve it, we thought, we say, we also thought it was clear that it was a necessity for the playgrounds because safety was first. And when we voted, we said, well, safety is first. We need the kids with their brains inside the school, so we're gonna leave it. And we even joke about that. But, you know, in SMS, we don't see the particular need because they're probably gonna be suspended if they try to climb a tree or something, so that shouldn't be an issue.
So I think what Brandt's saying is, by February,
Yeah.
we'll make a decision specifically about SMS. That's the only thing pending, I think, that would have artificial turf.
Okay.
Then also wait for the city's study, comprehensive study, and then we can work on that to decide what we're gonna do next.
Okay, I have a couple,
Because
okay.
then we can be more, like, I don't know what the outcome would be, it might be under play structures we have it nowhere else, or like whatever it is, right? But we'll have more information.
I do think that the city study about artificial turf is specifically for athletic fields. So
Right.
I'm not sure how applicable it would be for us if we're
We
talking
can
about
find that out.
Okay, so I have a couple more things. One is, you know, for the playgrounds, so I just wanted to address, like, I know Veronica, when in her comment was saying, I hope that by putting it across multiple sites, it's not equal. This is, my understanding is this is an equitable document, equitable work, so if somebody, it's not everybody gets the same amount of money, but it's like, if we're looking at globally HVAC, we're gonna like look at it across multiple sites, correct?
Yep, same approach with the playground. That's a
Okay.
perfect example.
Okay, so then, my thing about playgrounds is I'm interested in, you know, I think that for the kids who are using the play structures, like, you know, you're only allowed to use one if you're in like whatever age group, right? Like this is a play structure for your age group, right? And if that play structure has a slide that is messed up, is gonna catch your push, that is a problem
It is.
for all those kids. And so like, even though it's just one play structure, right, like that's an issue. So like how, when we talk about playgrounds, are you talking about just repairing and maintaining the play structures that are there, or replacing ones that have aged out? Or are we talking about what we talked about our last board meeting, which came up because of artificial turf, which is this idea of greening the schoolyards, like Waldorfing the heck out of the place, right? Like, let's make this Montessori magical, hybrid, green playground,
Yep, so to answer your question, it would be the former.
the first one.
Yep, replacing playgrounds that have aged out and needing repair.
So
Correct.
when we do that, right, like we had talked about an accessible playground, like a more accessible for all students, playground, really making sure students with special needs are included. And we had talked about greening things up, like even though that number doesn't reflect that, when we are putting our sticker there for playgrounds, like how do we reflect that we're.
Remember, we're talking about after we put the stickers, we're gonna give.
Yeah, but I
so
mean,
you
like-
would share that, you can say, I put my sticker here because I wanna have a bigger discussion on changing what they look like, not keeping them all plastic.
So if playgrounds were a priority, we would go back, we'd figure out what campuses would be first in line for playground modernization, maintenance projects. We would bring that back here, and if the scope of work the board elected to want to expand on, that would be the time to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, ready to vote?
Thank you, yeah. So, and then one more point, maybe we should discuss about a maximum of dots, because we've done it different ways before. I think last time we changed the maximum of dots because it happened like somebody put all of those dots in one and then we thought it was.
We're very like, instead of like somebody go up, we could take turns making check marks, so nobody's the last person with all the power to like make all their things.
Yeah, that one is good, yeah.
I've seen this game, I really have.
We've been there, done that.
I've gamed it before.
So I'm just gonna say like, yeah, however you guys wanna do that is fine, I just need the information, to be honest.
Okay,
So what is the max you guys wanna do? I don't really care.
I don't know, 4 or 5, how many? Draw a number, we'll go for it.
What do you recommend, Brad?
Maximum 10.
A max?
Yeah, what do you recommend?
5.
Yeah, there you go, 5. Good.
That's what he did to us, he had to live with it.
If you're gonna be equitable, you need to think about more than one more than one priority because there's more than one need.
These are all important, right, I agree.
So before we vote, does anyone have any questions about, people kind of asked some of these, but do anyone, when you look through that list of 1 through 17, do you have any questions or need any other information before you go vote?
I would like to know if there's any of these where these absolutely need to get fixed, like, are there any red zones on this thing? Should anything be lighting up at us, like, if we don't do this, this is a big problem? Well,
If there was like a safety hazard, we would just
Yes.
take care of it.
okay.
Exactly, like
Like-
if it's gonna fall apart or go in fire, we're gonna fix it anyway.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
one
That's
last
so bad.
question, in
Yes.
the
Yes,
Silver
over processing.
Lakewood, in the library, there are exterior playground, or exterior spaces that will be shared for outdoor learning, is my remembrance.
Yeah, and we have a dedicated classroom for Sunnyvale School District on the north side of that building.
What does science, arts, and elective spaces mean? Like, does it have a new science classroom, or what does that mean?
Modernizing
Modernizing
the existing ones.
okay. And then classrooms, new construction? What does
So
that?
thank you, thank you for saying that. So the example I'm gonna give real quick is, since for Sunnyvale, it would not be just building a new classroom just to build a new classroom, right? The best example I can give is if we were to rip down a portable that currently is being taught out of and building a new classroom in place of that portable. This would not be to expand the capacity of the campus, this would be to replace like an outdated classroom that needs to be ripped down.
Okay, so I see there is budget for that for Cherry Chase, Fairwood, Lakewood, San Miguel, Sunnyvale Middle. Are those the ones with portables?
Every once in a while, I love how I prepare. So Cherry Chase has 9, and yes, that is include, like, those are the ones identified at Cherry Chase. Columbia has 6, Cumberland has 13, Lakewood has 5, Sunnyvale Middle School had 18. Vargas has 5, one of them being Catalyst. I think I got them all.
So would putting it up there mean that we want to prioritize getting those portables? Okay, thank you.
So real quick before you guys vote, just wanted to add a bit of context that leadership had before they voted, or before we voted. So when you're thinking about, before you vote, think about our promise, think about our strategic plan, and the items on the list, the 17 priorities, how those impact that promise in that plan. So just wanted to kind of bring it back to that. And in addition to that, we started talking about equity and equality. So the framework of this is we are an equitable district or equity-based district. The equity is for the facility. So equity in the facility, we're not necessarily talking about equity in student learning necessarily. We want all facilities to be equitable. So if a facility's play structure is in really bad shape, they come to the front of the list. So I just wanted to clarify those few things.
And that's for me, that's why I cannot even believe we're having a conversation about restrooms. Just even if the gender neutral restrooms was not the newer improved version, it's just everyone needs a place to use the toilet.
I think we're ready to vote.
Yeah. Come on.
I have another question, sorry.
All right.
The site utilities.
Get a check, I'm wasting a check.
So
What is that, and kind of a little bit, how is that different than like tech infrastructure and equipment?
yeah, so every campus has site utilities that come in, whether it's power, sewer, storm, water. Some of our campuses being older would eventually have to have the underground utilities replaced, whether it's water line, sewer line, electrical service upgrades. That's what encompasses site utilities.
That sounds like a boring yet necessary thing.
Exactly.
So if we check it, if we don't check it, it's still gonna get done.
Yeah. We
So this is urgency, right? This is the urgency one. So it's still gonna get, is that what you're saying? You're saying it's still gonna get done even if we don't check it?
If it's urgent.
Only the need,
Yeah.
if it's
What I- what I-
urgent, if it's urgent.
So just to bring it back to the presentation.
Yeah.
After the completion of the SMS modernization, there'll be roughly $150 million left of bond funds.
Yeah.
Those are the only funds we can bank on.
Yeah.
You know, we will go for all grants that are out there, but that is the only tangible funding we have for our facilities. So the votes that, the prioritization that you give us will just inform what comes first until the 150 million is gone. So that was the framework we wanted you guys to take into the vote.
Okay.
But we're excited for the exercise to get up and vote.
Okay.
As we're getting up, just mind again what safety and security is.
Yeah, so it's everything from locks, gates, covered canopies, digital marquees.
But the marquees are done.
Yep.
Something like shade structures.
That was what can't.
Out.
So
No,
it's-
covered canopies is like the walkways in between classrooms.
So that, also what did you have for a question?
Yeah, covered canopies would be like
So we have 10, you said?
outdoor, like 14 to 15. Yes, 10, please.
10.
What
are physical education facilities? I imagine those are locker rooms at
Locker rooms,
what?
gym.
Okay, so I saw there was,
Numbers, numerical values.
and then, but I saw on the slide, there was some for Cherry Chase and Cumberland too. Do they have physical education facilities? What does it mean at those schools?
Isabel's gonna sneak up
I'll
on.
tell you exactly. Because that's the answer.
I was heavy into the site utility. That's just me.
I think I voted for that.
Thank you. No. Hey, if you don't got a vote for the sewer, right, what are you gonna do?
Definitely be a very.
Right?
I guess they didn't realize that another will add it to 100K. Like I wanna use the whole amount. Yeah, no, I think.
Yeah, so you're putting 5 stars in one?
No, they said you're numbering, so we
Yeah,
had
number.
10 numbers to
Yep.
put on there.
So one more.
That's a new one, and so we're gonna put
Wait,
dots.
are these numbers?
Are we gonna
Yes.
put dots or numbers?
Numbers, numerical value.
Number one is.
No, you just have 10 votes.
You're just, the numbers are just representing you get to 10. So
Yeah,
it's not
just
that's
helping
your
you
first choice,
count
second
better.
choice, third choice. It's just numbers instead of
Oh, so you're putting numbers, not dots?
Numbers.
No, the numbers represent how many
No.
votes you're getting.
No,
So
no,
if you
Yes,
put
yes.
four,
How
you
many
have-
votes?
Yes, if you put four, that's
Yes.
4 votes.
Yes.
Not here.
Okay, sorry.
what are the facilities at Cherry Chase? On the slide, on the blue slide under the presentation. So.
Oh, sorry.
Facilities, Cherry Chase, and Cumberland. Like, these make sense to me.
Assuming it has tied back to like the gym somehow, but so what I can do is I can go back and see like what got these numbers.
I'm just curious, it's not, I don't think it's gonna affect my numbers.
Yes, I think we are doing that. We are supposed to use, yeah, priorities. Without
And so I put it on the spot, I'm gonna put them on and then I'm gonna figure out what
So the number one is one vote.
You can tell you in terms of.
Should have done this. You should have done it like individually and something that just put it together. Yeah. Electronically.
That's true.
Yeah.
It'd be a better.
Creating this as well, or is giving you this? Sorry, was that part of the 1,000-hour program for the recording? You're part of 7 hour outside. Last year we got had a.
So they could pick.
Last year we got.
Wait, you mean the first one?
Yeah, sorry.
That's the one, no, I just made it.
Yeah, my sister's in Minneapolis, now it's snow, I'm not.
There we go.
I mean, in the end of it.
Where? It's just like.
I guess if no one can then skin
When I hear that one.
I've never missed one.
Oh, so my dad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like want to find like in the fall, right? It's not a cat. Oh, no, I actually work better with my stuff around. Need a little bit of background. Yeah, no,
In our greener school year too.
Oh, yeah, no,
That's 100 plus 8,000. 8,000.
And I don't really talk like. It's been a while.
Pretty good. Yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I was allowed to come up here, but I wanted to say hi.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good, I'm Mike.
Yeah, I think we've met once or twice before at Sunnyvale.
Oh, okay.
I'm Elizabeth. I'm from Senator Hot.
Oh, that's right, okay, good. Yeah, thanks for being
Yeah,
here.
nice to meet you. This is my first time in the room. You guys
Uh-huh.
are doing your meeting, so it's really cool. I usually just watch your big screen.
Okay.
So, I have this great view from the camera right here.
Where do you live?
I live in Redwood City, but most of the time
Okay.
I'm in Fremont. That's where our district office is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always good. Getting home from here would be a breeze.
Yeah, at night it is.
It is, yeah. I mean, that's kind of the benefit when I drive here from Fremont. Usually it takes me 50 to 55 minutes to get back home. So from here at this time of the day, 30 minutes is nothing.
Were you or someone from your office at the Be Our Guest event today? Silicon Valley Council for Nonprofits?
We are guests.
Oh, okay. Well, the senator's name was announced.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Oh, maybe she was there.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
didn't see
she
her.
might have been staffed by one of our pledge directors.
Yeah.
We've been recently short-staffed, so.
Oh, yeah.
We were everywhere else today.
It was kind of a neat event.
Oh, was it? What'd you guys do? Do you think
So
I
they-
can read around the restaurant?
Probably. They do it annually. It's the Council for Nonprofits, so all the nonprofits, not all, but all the nonprofits from the county, I guess, go and they do their awards. And then the fun part is everyone comes and decorates pumpkins and then they auction them off and they vote for them. It's like the
That's
draw.
cute, so it's a fundraiser.
Yeah, I guess so. But mostly it's their award ceremony, but
Oh.
yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I would not be missed it.
So it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Find out if someone was actually there because it was a
Yeah.
neat event.
I feel like if they said our name, someone probably was there. Yeah, we're pretty good about making sure
Yeah.
that if we're there,
There's a couple hundred people there, and they do it at the San Jose Giants Stadium.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they used to do it indoors, and then COVID happened, and they did it here, and they're like, oh, this is kind of fun. So they set up tables in the outfield, and then you ever been to a green there?
No, never.
Oh, they have a great outdoor barbecue set up, so it's barbecue. You know, it's fun.
Cool. That's awesome. I honestly today was like the perfect day to do it. It was so nice.
Really nice weather.
Cool. I'll keep an eye out. We'll see if we
Yeah.
can make it to
Every year about this time.
Any other big ones coming up that we should know about?
Oh, I don't know. It's gonna get to be the holiday season quick, so. Yeah.
Yeah, so everyone's gone on vacation.
Yeah, everyone will be glad when the election's over.
It'll be a relief.
We'll see how the voting's going.
Nice seeing you.
Yeah, nice seeing you.
Elizabeth, I think we maybe met once or twice before, yeah. I can set it or possible. Yes, yes, we did. Yes, yes, that makes sense. Nice to meet you. You're doing okay.
I'm doing well. How are you? Well, you have officially made it to.
Oh my God, wait, okay, how was your? Oh my God, congratulations. So they're like, all right, you can go now. 29 years, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks for
You guys are still living, but you're going with the doctor.
You're giving advice there.
She's like,
And I know that there's pathway program, they're trying to expedite the ability for education I mean, maybe I'd say now that it's a time, it was like, instead of making more jobs, we have and it was just like, little more than just like dissolve, right? That like they've all been yeah, that was my
And we are ready, everybody voted. So maybe we can our break before or not we yeah, let's do the tally now and close this item.
We'll take 5 minutes.
Get a break, yeah.
Take a picture of it. Serious. Good. I'm trying not to mess with it. Right. You wanna double check?
What are you
Excel?
laughing about? The squeaky? Yeah. Well, I say the total is, as long as the total's equal to 50, we're good.
Yeah.
Possibly.
As long as no one picked 11.
I changed mine.
Okay. 9 and 11.
50.
31. You counted already?
Oh, good job.
Okay, so, sorry, I guess I said something. Okay, so real quick, it looks like top 3 are scope 14 being outdoor learning environments and quad, scope 10 being building systems, restrooms and power access, and scope number 1, site-wide modernization and deferred maintenance. Those are the top 3 for the exercise we just did with the board. Anybody have, by the way, it's nerve-wracking, I don't know how teachers do like math in front of lots of people. So if anybody wants to double check that, I'll take a picture, but I think we're good, that was awesome. Oh.
So for the outdoor learning, like, you know, I think for me that was like thinking about garden spaces, but, you know, outdoor hands-on learning opportunities and just really trying to, you know, I also lean into the exterior play spaces, but really with the idea of looking at alternative, like, not just sustainable environments, but ones where the kids who are in the special day class or in the full inclusion, you know, can really participate and access those play structures. That would be really fantastic.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask about the portables because I'm the only person with that, Frank, that in these classrooms. And I just want to know if the portables as they exist, I remember that part of the problem with that a lot of parents had at SMS was that the 6th grade wing wasn't air conditioned. So are the portables that exist at our, it's important to me that kids have air conditioning.
Correct, so I'll say with relative confidence that 99%, if not all portables have air conditioning.
Okay, I'll leave my one there.
Those other ones were just the ones that were split, like they were there before I was.
Okay.
They still have AC on the portables.
No, but I'm saying that 6th grade wing and the ones
Oh,
that were
yeah.
like torn down, like those were there even before I.
I'll just, I do wanna leave, I wanted to clarify that, but I do wanna leave my one there because as you discussed in your presentation, I feel like if we can get more classrooms built rather than portables, that contributes to better success rates.
I agree.
Good, and then with that, right now is 7:41. As usual, we've been here and start the rest of the meeting. We are gonna have a 10-minute
I
break.
think Nancy had a comment she wanted to make.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So for the outdoor spaces, and when we're talking about playgrounds, we're talking about accessibility accessibility, it's not just having the structures, it's also having some infrastructure. Like having, there's exciting playgrounds that have, language boards in the playground area so kids can, communicate with one another. So it's different kind of signage to make it more accessible and welcoming as well, not just a specific piece of equipment. So we're looking at making it welcoming for everybody. And that could be a good reference point for new needs and for anybody.
Okay.
Sounds like from presentation, we're almost merging those two together. I mean, it's our fourth one, right? So it is right up there.
Okay, and I think, so.
Thank you so
right
much.
now
Thank you.
it's 7:43, thank you very much, and we'll be back at 7:53 for the next agenda item.
Why don't we try for
We are gonna try to come back, had a very fun part, but remind everybody that at the end of this, we have 700 books to review. 700 pages book to review, so. Okay, so now we are going to item 4, which is comments from the board and superintendent. We're gonna, again, sorry, the time is 7:51. And we start again, so we're gonna come down up, Nancy, or left, right?
Busy week for a lot of people. I enjoyed participating in the Santa Cruz County School Boards Association. I really love the panel. I'm following up with Sandia to see how we can get more comments and engage the students so that their voice can be heard by more people.
Yeah, there's been like a bajillion events in the last 2 weeks, so thank you. Some of them have been stuff that our staff has put on. One was the county recognition for our teacher, Divya, is that how you say her name? I had a great conversation with her kids, and anyways, it was really fun. But the one kind of highlight I wanted to share was I got to go to, so Walden West has started a kind of open house fundraiser. So this was like their first annual one. It was a few weeks ago on a Saturday. And so I was like, oh, that'd be fun to go to. And my son had just gone to Walden science camp last year. And so most of my family went up there. And it was just fun. It was fun to be able to see the space where like not only my kid goes, but then lots of other kids go, right, to kind of experience. Like we got to go into the garden. We did a little walk, got to see banana slugs, and then kind of towards the facility. And I guess that was a really fun event. So I would recommend it. Board members future, if you want to go, I think they're going to start doing it every year in the fall. They also, if you're ever interested, they do have, if they're having a garden work party coming up, whatever. So it was fun too. And that's it.
Great, thank you so much. We did the SF Squared meeting this week, and that was nice to learn about things that were of interest to community-funded districts. I wasn't able to attend the fall dinner, but it sounded like it went well, and I'm sorry I couldn't make it. Today was my drive around and pick random things up for Lakewood Day, and I want to give a quick shout out to our community partners at Grocery Outlet for donating 100 pounds of pasta to our food bank for the school, and that'll be going out to parents. Lakewood's having their monthly assembly, and we really wanted to have food in the food bank so that people could get what they needed before that. And also I went down to pick up a large plant grant from the Xerces Foundation today, and that's going to go into Lakewood's pollinator garden. I think that outdoor learning spaces, that's going to be a great opportunity for us to get kids outside and learning about things. I also, I think it was last week, the city had their BPAC commission meeting, and there was a presentation from Safe Routes to School. And I think that I emailed Mike about this, but I think there's some room for improvement for data collection there, and I look forward to seeing what we can do to partner with the city to improve that process. Thank you.
Okay, so I sent most of my comments in, I believe in the next week or so. I think by the end of this week, they're starting to receive families at the Sunnyvale shelter, the unhoused shelter. So they're moving in 6 to 8 families per week until they get to 24 families, depending on the size. But they said that there's about 700 families on the wait list, so for emergency shelter. And it's great that our district is working with them. There's gonna be all ages, and we're getting more information about them as they come in. One thing, we had our Sunnyvale Unhoused meeting last week, and one thing that Marie Bernard from Sunnyvale Community Services shared was that there's the Second Harvest Food Bank got their budget for protein cut. So there'll be pretty much no protein and very little protein in the food that they're giving out through Sunnyvale Community Services and through our schools. So very little milk, very little cheese, and they don't know if they're getting eggs, and there's no chicken anymore. So they're really worried about that. So when Sunnyvale Community Services has I know Rotary and other places are having donation drives for them for the holidays, but if there's any interest for people to donate to Second Harvest Food Bank or Sunnyvale Community Services, they could use it. And all my other comments I sent in.
I may or may not send that. Sorry, that's right. It has been a very busy month. One of the things to highlight was the Ibero-American Festival made by the Líderes de la Comunidad or community leaders, which are funded by the Community Service Center. That was, I think that came out very well. I wanted to acknowledge Bridget, I think it was this month that we did the shelter.
Oh, yeah.
Bridget organized and we painted the family shelter. That was great it was very, very big. And, we were able to paint it all the areas that are new and that are gonna be there. But, she was the motor, the engine behind. Then, yes, I think everybody in the last couple of weeks have been meeting. From the LAC, we went to visit Alice Lee, from Success, which is the shelter thing from CSBA. Remind everybody that we are really going very hard in the last week for Measure Y. We've been meeting every week with that. And the SCCSBA locally, there has been a lot of activities. One of them was the fall dinner last night, which was very hard, soul-wrenching with the kids who actually went there and talked to us about their own experiences as being special education children, and they were different type of special educations and different levels of needs, and how they feel and how they receive services and how they feel they are treated by their peers. So that was very, very good to hear from them and to open, the eyes to many people about this. This month, and I thought it was on the 20-something, but then I just checked, so I really thought it was tomorrow, but it was last week. I want to acknowledge that it was coming out day on the 11th. Sorry, I thought it was next week. Yeah, we should have it on front to support our children. And we had a very nice event last week. We all acknowledged Aliyah during the whole day because she put it together and she wasn't there. We had the 125-year anniversary and Aliyah put it together. And it was very nice to see our teacher be recognized on Monday by the county. So we had our county recognition of the best teachers around the whole county. That was very good. It was a full theater, as you was, well, yeah, it was kind of 80%, isn't that bad? It was kind of good. It was a nice event, nice videos, and the piece they did about our teacher was very nice. Yeah, looking forward to the next meeting. I'll try to send my activities.
Okay, just a couple of comments, and some of them were already covered, but I wanted to also thank Aliyah just publicly for the outstanding job you did, well, every day, but especially for the 125th anniversary, so thank you for that. I want to thank the community. Arthur and I were talking about it during while you guys were telling. We really appreciate the thoughtful public comment on the facility master plan, and always, but it was today in particular, it was striking how people came up and shared their perspectives, and that was so helpful to us. And we appreciate the community's involvement. And then lastly, today I was able to attend the Silicon Valley Council on Nonprofits Be Our Guest event, which I've been fortunate to go to pretty much almost annually. I think I might have missed one or two. I go as a guest because I'm on the board for Sunnyvale Community Services. It's a wonderful event. It's at Excite Ballpark, which is where the San Jose Giants play. I still think of them as the San Jose Bees, but that's another thing. Someone recognize that? Okay, good. Old timers. So one of the things, everyone is there. So like I got a good lead that I'm going to talk to SCF about fundraising. Got to see Marianne Dewan, who's Pumpkin One. That's part of the draw for that thing. Everyone decorates pumpkins, and hers won, and she's in good spirits. Got to talk to Otto Lee, Cindy Chavez, and stuff like that. So it's a good event. When it comes up again next year, if any of you can go, I recommend it. That's my comments.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we go to the next item, which is item number 5, comments from the Sunnyvale Education Association. If there's any member who wishes to speak to us online. Okay, seeing none, we move to the next item, which is item 6. Comments from the California School Employees Association. If there's any member who wishes to talk to us, no? Okay. Now comments from the public. And this portion of the agenda provides an opportunity for members of the public to directly address the governing board on any items of interest to the public. However, provision of the Brown Act government preclude any action being taken of any item not appearing on the posted agenda, which means that if you come and bring a new item that is not on the agenda, we are not allowed by law to talk about it, but we will take note and keep in contact with you. So it's very valuable and we appreciate it. With that, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And do we have people online? And we have 2 people online. So, yeah, we're gonna start with one online. One online. Okay, and then we have 1 online. So yeah, we can go to our maximum, which is 3 minutes per person, and try to get to 20 minutes. General. So we're gonna start with Elizabeth Baca, who is here from Senator Wahab office, please.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today to represent Senator Aisha Wahab. It's nice to finally be here to see most of you in person. I feel like I've communicated with many of you over email, so it's nice to finally put a face to the email. I'm here today for one specific reason, and it is to honor the Sunnyvale School District for 125 years of dedicated service to their students. I'm here today with a certificate on behalf of our office, on behalf of Senator Wahab, to honor you all for the hard work and the hours of committed service that you've done for the district and for all of the students here. So thank you all so much for your service, and if you wouldn't mind, I would love to get a photo with all of you. Thank you.
Oh, right, that'd be great. Can we all come up here? Yes. Yes.
125 years. That's a long time.
We were the first governmental agency in
Really?
Wow. We all so friendly and proud. We're gonna scooch in, right, Arthur?
Do we want a couple more on this side, so this is more in the middle? Or just maybe one more there, that'll make it better.
Yes. All right. Sunnyvale.
Which one are we looking at first? Hold on.
Looking at Katie first.
Don't worry about me.
All right. I like to take lots of photos, and then I have one more for y'all. Oh, wait, we can zoom out just a little bit. A little too close to personal. Okay. Oh, there's that strong joy. I love it.
Thank you.
Hey, Katie.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Superintendent, Aaliyah.
Aaliyah's the keeper.
No, no, no. I've got a lot of good notes to take back to the office. Thank you.
Just.
We're good.
We'll put it back to their not.
Like it never did happen. Okay, thank you very much. And our next speaker is Jessica Jarecki from Vargas Elementary.
Hello, my name is Jessica Jarecki and I'm speaking today on behalf of the Vargas Elementary PTA, and I am the president of the PTA. So we wanted to share some details about our mission, the activities we prioritize, and the amount of money we are spending supporting Vargas Elementary. The mission of the PTA is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. It is not intended to be a fundraising organization, but it often fills in funding gaps to improve quality of life for students and families. As you all likely know, Vargas Elementary is a Title I school, but despite the challenges one would expect raising money from this community, we have been able to spend $52,974.54 on our mission just last year. This year, we plan to spend over $68,000. We have currently budgeted $25,000 for after-school activities, $17,900 for field trips and assemblies, $8,025 in just standard teacher grants, and we've started a new science grant for teachers for $2,100, as well as significant money for community events and translation software. I want to specifically talk about our after-school activities. There is such a demand for after-school activities at Vargas. We currently have 2 after-school programs running, the musical and soccer. We had 43 3rd through 5th graders sign up for the musical and 78 students sign up for soccer. We only plan to have 30 slots for soccer. So we opened up 40 through a lottery system to be able to select people equitably. But so overall, about 25% of Vargas students signed up for just these 2 programs, which wasn't even open to TK, and there are a lot of TKers this year. I don't know where all the littles are coming from. We subsidize our after-school programs to about $10 per week, which is well below market rate for nearly any after-school program around, and we still offer partial and full scholarships to anyone that feels they need one. Between the 2 programs, 54.2% still needed partial or full scholarships from our already subsidized prices. We are excited to be able to provide programs for students who clearly want and need them, but we know we cannot provide enough for everyone and cannot sustain the level of support we are currently providing through our entirely volunteer organization. We recognize that other schools in the districts have much larger and much smaller parent organizations than we do. We hope the district can work with its parent organizations to share resources more equitably throughout the school district. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Kathy Rowland from San Miguel.
I'm shorter than Jessie. Good evening again, members of the Board of Education and our Sunnyvale School District leadership. For the record, my name is Katie Rowland, and I'm speaking now in my official capacity as the president of the San Miguel Elementary PTA. And I have 2 items to share with you all tonight. So first, I have in this envelope a check for $20,000 to support field trips at San Miguel so that students from all classrooms can take field trips this year. The scale of this investment represents how important these things are to our community, because this is $20,000 coming from a Title I school. And it also, I think, is the most that we can realistically contribute to this. And it also falls short of the actual need at our school. Secondly, I wanted to share just a little bit more about what we're doing as a PTA. I really appreciated Bridget Watson's comments at the end of the September meeting. that we do more than just the Fall Festival as a PTA and that we're filling opportunity gaps and doing more. But I thought maybe what we're doing isn't visible to you guys. So I thought, well, let me come and tell you what it looks like at San Miguel and correct maybe preconceptions about what a PTA can be. So at San Miguel PTA, we work to be un lugar para todos, a place for everyone, right? We're not primarily a fundraising organization, but we seek to engage and empower our community through educational enrichment, through community events, advocacy, and volunteering. And yeah, that sometimes looks financial, $20,000 for field trips, $20,000 for scholarships for after-school activities, $5,000 for assemblies at our school, $20,000 for campus beautification, $11,000 for teacher grants, special projects, Spanish books in the library, and so on to the tune of nearly $90,000 going directly to our school this year. And while we don't have a fall festival, we do organize community events, and they're an essential engagement moment that specifically draw in historically underserved families at our school, celebrate the assets of our community, and directly support Juntos' goals of biliteracy and biculturalism through bilingual guests and cultural performances. Feel free to come tomorrow night to our costume Zumba event for Tamales Temporado and a completely Spanish-led event. You talk about joy and purpose, and that aligns with our belief that everyone in our community has a talent to offer. We engage volunteers in our Spanish-only group, the Comité de Familias Unidas, and other affinity groups. We have volunteers collecting and washing and sorting uniforms that are exchanged throughout our community. It was a volunteer who translated every Project Cornerstone book to make sure they would be in Spanish at our school. All of this and more adds up to 3,200 hours just last year, just on PTA programs outside of regular volunteering at our school. So I will leave you with a check and a flyer, woohoo, that highlights our 24-25 programs. I invite you to review and introspection so you know what we're up to, and you can start to think too about like which of these programs ought to be promised to our students and which do we have to fight for, because I truly believe that we can do more together. Juntos. Gracias.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And now the next person is Courtney Jensen.
Sorry, I wasn't.
You want me to go or you want me to wait? Go ahead. Okay. Still Courtney Jensen, still a parent of 2 kids at San Miguel. But now I'm gonna talk about after school activities. And I didn't really prepare this either, and Jesse and I did not coordinate, I promise. On a very serious note, my husband and I are pulling our kids out of their after school program at the end of next week. There are a lot of reasons why, none of which I'm going to say tonight because this meeting is being recorded. So I want to walk you through what my life is going to look like starting on November 4th, when I do not have grade, well, I didn't have grade anyhow, when I do not have an after-school program that goes until 5 or 5:30 p.m. Okay, Mondays. I should start by saying thank God for the PTA. Katie just said that our PTA gives $20,000 a year for our after-school programs. We have after-school programs through the PTA Monday through Thursday. So Monday, my kids do that, which means I can work until 3:10 when I have to go get them from school. I pick them up, we eat snacks in the car, and we go to an activity at 4 o'clock. Because my kids are a different age, this activity is not the same time for both of them, so there's not enough overlap for me to be able to work even from the car. We get home around 5:15. Dinner, bedtime, my kids are asleep about 8:45, which gives me about 2 hours to make up 2 hours of work. Basically, it's the same thing on Tuesday. Wednesday, they are not in the PTA after school activity, so I have to pick them up at 2:10. We do snacks in the car. I take them to another activity that again does not overlap because they're not the same age. We get home probably about 4:35. Same thing, I now have from 8:30 until I go to bed to make up for 3 hours of missed work. Thursday, I'll pick them up from their PTA activity. Again, thank goodness for the PTA activities. Bring them home, hope they get along, which usually happens, but not always, and try and get roughly an hour, hour and a half of work done before 5 o'clock. I may have to put them in front of the TV depending upon what they are doing and what I need to get done. Fridays. So school ends at 12:30 on Fridays, which is a half of a work day. There are no PTA activities on Friday. Programs through the city of Sunnyvale start at 3:30, and frankly, I don't know yet what we're gonna do for Fridays. So it's kind of a mess, as I hope you got. Why am I sharing this? Besides that, I want you to know. When I hear people talk about how there is no need for after-school activities, or that the demand for those activities is filled. Frankly, it feels like wishful thinking. My kids are not on any wait lists because we didn't qualify and they did not want to take spots for kids who need it more than my kids do, although I need it. So my ask for the district is to really invest in understanding this need. Don't use the wait lists, do parent surveys or whatever you need to find out. I'm not the only one. I know 2 other families who pulled their kids out of the same program and many others who need the support. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. And our next speaker is Veronica Brand. Right back.
Hi again, my name is Veronica Brand and I'm a parent at San Miguel. I have 2 kids in the Juntos bilingual program. I wanted to speak about school supplies. So this year was a new change where the district provided school supplies. I very much appreciate that families are not asked to provide individual school supplies for their child. That I think that does lead to a lot of inequity, and so I appreciate that has been taken off the table. That said, I think there is a need for guidance to both the teachers and the parents about what is provided for the district and how teachers can still partner with families. There's confusion about, the glue sticks weren't included in the first round of supplies. Are they gonna get glue sticks? We can't ask the parents. If the glue sticks run out halfway through the year, will we be able to restock them? I think it's difficult because the teachers don't know if they can ask for it. And so families are left, not able to help. And in some ways, family engagement looks like many different things for different families. And one way that some families engage is actually, so when their teacher asks for some supplies, maybe they provide it. They can't provide financial resources like a monetary donation, but they can say, okay, I can get, a thing of Kleenex from, Costco or from another big box store. And so by not having the guidance to say it's okay to take that, teachers are basically saying, no, we don't want your help. And so we don't want your engagement. So I request that you provide some more clear guidance. Again, I thank you that we're not expected to provide school supplies for our individual children, but how can we help partner as a community partners or as families to support our community? Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, I think we can move to our online people.
We have Susan Humphreys Sala.
Okay, welcome online speaker. You can do a minute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Okay, great. So hi, everybody. My name is Susan Salup, and I'm a parent of a child with learning differences who recently graduated from Sunnyvale Middle School. And I have 2 topics to comment on tonight. The first is about special ed parent engagement in PTAs, and the second is around inclusion efforts in the Sunnyvale School District. So first for PTA stuff. So for the past 2 years, I've been helping to set up special education inclusion committees within the PTAs in Sunnyvale School District. And as we look at this school year, we now have these special ed inclusion committees in 9 of the Sunnyvale School District PTAs. And pretty much those schools have, only 9 schools actually have PTAs. 1 school has a PTO. So we're set up in all of those. And I'd like to share with you what we've been doing. So the PTA Special Ed Inclusion Committee has 3 focus areas. Number 1, we create opportunities to bring together kids with learning differences with their general education peers, things like peer groups. We started this great club at Sunnyvale Middle School called Peer Connect. It's also expanded to Columbia Middle School. Number 2, provide a voice in the PTA to ensure school events are inclusive. Things like walkathons, festivals, have like quiet areas, sensory activities, things like that. Number 3, work with school staff on abilities awareness events. For example, partnering with folks like Chin Chin Chu on Autism Awareness Month and assemblies. We recently helped Kennedy Flanders at Bishop with feedback for her assembly, and then some follow-up activities with the kids on abilities awareness. So as you can see, the PTAs, school administration, and actually district administration, folks like Linda Van Morik, who's the great special ed director, have been very supportive of our efforts. And this is a great example of how PTAs contribute positively to parent engagement, especially parents of kids with IEPs, with disabilities, who traditionally probably have been left out of PTAs. Now we have lots of great involvement. So I'm really excited about this. Okay, the second thing I'm here to talk about is inclusion efforts within the district. So I understand there's an effort to increase general education time for students with disabilities, which is consistent with the new California Board of Education state mainstreaming guidelines. These guidelines, as you probably know, is to students with IEPs should be mainstreamed 80% of the time. So in gen ed, 80% of the time they're in school. This is an awesome development. At the same time, it's important to make sure that the focus is on meaningful inclusion, which means that students with learning disabilities, also general education students and teachers, all these three constituents have positive experiences with inclusion. And as you all know, this will require a lot of effort and work. Finally, the current conversations among parents with kids with special needs includes trends of our district using more stricter criteria for issuing IEPs and moving students out of IEP designation to 504, even in the earliest grades. And we're really concerned about this. And in addition, this seems to be a likely outcome of the mainstreaming requirements set by California Board of Education. This is a concerning trend. It's well known that early intervention in preschool and elementary schools leads to successful educational outcomes. As the district focuses more on inclusion, it's imperative to provide special education students the appropriate services and not hastily move to 504s. Thank you. Sorry I went over.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry I went over. Thank you.
Thanks. Do we have the second person? No, not anymore? Okay.
There's someone who's trying to.
They raised their hands after we got started.
Oh, okay.
I thought you said two initially.
There were
two.
And then they lower their hand and then a
Okay.
different person.
And we have three more
Oh.
after the.
And then Karina now.
So I think we're over.
That's just two.
Okay. Okay, then let's move to the next.
And invite them to send in emails. with
Yes,
their
if there are people online that raise after we cut the numbers, please send it up.
Like, unfortunately, we're at time, we have a 20-minute
Yeah.
limit for public comment, but we invite you to submit emails to our board email addresses, which can be found on the website, and we would like to hear from you.
Yes, you can go to board at SESD.org.
I don't think we can anymore. And I thought that was not it. I
Okay,
think
then.
that you have to just
Yeah.
do us.
Jesus, do Jesus.
On the website.
On the website, yeah. Perfect. So with that, we move to the next item, which is item 8, consent agenda items. So if we have a comment from the people referring the consent agenda items, this will be the time, and it's only referring to item 8. Any? Okay. So with that, do we have a motion to approve the agenda items as they are?
I move to approve the agenda items for consent.
I'll second that. So, okay, with that, everybody, now is the time to vote. You may vote aye if you want to approve them as they are right now. Aye. With that, we approve the agenda items as they are. Now we can move to item number 9, which is review and discussion, and 9A is review and discuss board self-evaluation timeline and purpose, and for that we have Dr. Gallagher.
Yes, the board typically does its self-evaluation at the November governance team development meeting. This year, in talking with the president and vice president, we thought, let's use the CSBA online self-evaluation tool. So that's the plan for that. I think I put on here what the dates are. November 1st through 14th. The thing about that is there's a set window of when you have to turn it in during that time. So I just wanted to confirm with the board, see if there's any questions about that timeline.
Is that not what we've been using for the last few years?
We've done like
I thought that's what we
a
were.
Google Doc. We did a Google Doc.
We did our own on paper because we didn't want to do a Google Doc because we didn't want anyone to assemble and see what they were because there was some self-reflection. So
We
this
might
is
have
at
done it this
CSBA.
way. We might have done it this way.
I know we have done it.
Yeah,
Yes.
we have done it, and, it didn't cover all it didn't necessarily cover all the same areas, there was that was there previously, the picture. So I don't have a problem with trying this. But there may be some additional discussion and reflection that can take place on the day.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's an okay place to start. Have that already pre-compiled, because I know it is very cumbersome to try and do this on your own.
Yeah.
Okay, so, oh, by the way, we don't have public comments of this one.
Okay.
Do we,
You can
do
ask
we
for
need
comment.
any public comments with it?
You could ask.
Yeah, related to item 9, if anyone from the public wants to talk about the ORSEC evaluation. Seeing none, yeah.
Okay, so Jesus will initiate it, but it'll come from CSBA, yeah?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and they'll probably let us know if we can invite you.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we can, the form will give us the answer by itself. I mean, we
Yes.
fill it up and then you send it.
Then we'll have it in time for the governance team development. Yep.
And help me remember how long does the typical survey take? Did they say that from CSBA, how long it would?
Whatever is in the board item is what I copy and paste from their stuff.
All right.
It wasn't that long.
I don't think it's that long.
It doesn't, I think it said 10.
2 minutes.
You're saying, I guess there was a sample in here?
No, 7.
That's it. Okay.
I think it's a version where that we took when we did the one, we
Listen,
just
you
copy paste the form before. It's very similar, it's just more sophisticated.
Okay.
Okay, so with that, are we done with this? Okay, with that, we can move,
Good plan.
yes, we can move to item 10, review and action, which is the approval of the school plans for students' achievement. And for that, we have Dr. Tasha Dean and our CBO, Arthur Guffey.
Okay, good evening, board. This is a delayed process for us. We typically have started bringing these towards the end or right at the beginning of the school year. But given our strategic plan this year and a new LCAP, we wanted to get through all of that so that our leadership team would have that information to inform their school achievement plans, so that we have alignment across all plans and supports for our schools. So these plans are coming forth, which are definitely aligned to our strategic plan and some of our LCAP initiatives. And also they are unique to each school, whether it be around their specific attendance needs, or their particular groupings and how students are performing in different areas. So those where the nuances come so that the plans reflect the school culture and needs more specifically, but yet still aligned to our strategic plan and LCAP. And so the plans before you are a combination of all 10 of our school sites and their plans for this coming year.
Good. So if we have any comments from the public related item 9, which is the school plan for 10, which is the school plan for student achievement for this school year, please. Okay, we have one person online. Good, if you have 3 minutes. Gita, welcome, please, you have 3 minutes and the timer is on your screen.
Hi, my name is Geeta Golakota. I'm a parent at Alice Elementary, and I went through the presentation, the 658 pages one. Kudos to whoever put it together, and the board members for going through it. The thing that I got out of that is students with disabilities and students with English learners and students of Hispanic origin and socioeconomically disadvantaged kids seem to be the kids that are struggling with are lower performing as identified. And I loved how Alice Elementary is incorporating more push and supports versus pull-out supports, intervention supports. And I noticed that this is the trend in most of the schools. And I'm surprised the district doesn't have a comprehensive plan on addressing this issue, which seems to be common across multiple schools, in a consistent way that can yield in sustainable results. So that's all I had to comment for. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And with that, we need to have a motion before we start discussing. So do we have a motion to review and approve the school plan for student achievement?
I move to approve the school plan for student achievement.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, with that, let's start discussing. Do you want to start left to right? You want to start with the...
Excuse me, we need to be closer. So do you anticipate this format being carried over year to year, or is it still kind of an evolution of what the state wants to have?
It is the state, no, I'm kidding. At this time, we do feel that this will be the alignment, because this reflects the new regulations in alignment also with the changes that were to the LCAP. So we suspect that this would be the format for the next 3 years as it is. But we do already know that there's some changes coming for LCAP, which will also impact this. But as far as the format, we think it will be pretty consistent.
Okay. And to the comment that the individual made about, do we have a comprehensive plan? Can you speak to that?
If I understood the comment, the note I put, I thought it was around some of the integration of special needs students into general education classrooms. At least that was the context of what I heard. But if it was something else, I'm not sure. So I wanted to clarify that actually, but that's a note that I put before I respond.
I think, Nancy, you're referring to the one who was talking about when you look at our numbers, which is what we talk about all the time, right? The special needs students, our Hispanic students, proficiency is horrible. What are we doing to address those needs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the answer is our strategic plan. And so I would invite that person to go dig into our strategic plan and reach out if they have questions. Reach out to staff, right?
That is correct, and we do have a plan. It is a strategic plan. It is our LCAP plan. And that's also why our emphasis this year is around ELA and mathematics, because those are the two critical areas that we must address and make some shifts in order to impact other areas and domain needs for our students.
Okay. First off, I know this takes lots of time, right? And in the SF squared, we were talking about all the reports that need to happen, and now there's gonna be a statewide report about all the reports. Anyways, it is, as I was looking through this, I was thinking about a lot of that. And some of the reporting, right? We need some reporting for accountability, but also when it's so much and it's so cumbersome. Anyway, that was a tangent. I just have a question for kind of moving forward, right? Like I know we've been working on making these like a more, not just a checkbox, right, but a more tangible thing, and I can see that here for sure. But I am a little bit, and it's not super big deal, but on the, like when you look at the goals in different school sites, right? So like taking goal 3, for example, right? And that's the social emotional learning. Some of them just have kind of the general phrasing of a goal. And then, right, there's also then 2 areas next. It's the, the annual measurable outcomes, right? So then they will have their numbers, but then some of the school sites, their goal is those expected outcome numbers, right? That's in the goal spot. Is that making sense what I'm saying?
I'm not quite. I do know that some of our principals write more IEP style, I'm gonna call it that, and some don't write. Some write more global. And we are not holding to what style of writing, more so we're looking at what the outcomes are and measuring them. That's what's most important to us.
So whether inside in the goal description, whether you put your outcomes, because I wasn't saying like the outcomes were then under the outcomes, but just some did it there and some didn't. So that's not really, whether you do that or not that important, as long as we have it in the other section.
That is correct.
Okay. And then my other question, which is I mean, connected to this, but I think also probably is also on the broader space, right? I mean, this is all connected to strategic plan anyway. But and I think it's for goals 1 and 2, right? Because goal 1 is the math one, I think, and then goal 2 is the ELA, or I might be getting them reversed. And when you look at our strategic plan, right, that goal is, and some of them refer to that, is 1 year growth for those who are proficient and more than 1 year growth for those who are below proficiency, right? But then I'm always forget the phrasing, right? Then the annual measurable outcomes are, I don't know how you actually do that, but are just how many kids are proficient. So while that is very important, we want to increase the number of kids proficient, hard stuff, right? And if our goal is 1 year growth and 1.5 year growth, I didn't really see, how are we measuring that, right? How are we measuring, is that making sense, right? So an example, right?
I'll give you an example. So if
Okay.
you looked on page 29 and look at goal 1.
Are you just with the first school?
Yeah, I don't even know which, I guess it is the
Bishop?
first school, would be Bishop, but it would be
Okay.
consistent actually throughout.
Well, it's not necessarily a consistent page, because some of them write more, some of them are pages.
No, but what I mean is the section,
Okay.
annual measurable outcomes, because I think your question was, how do we look at that, right?
Yeah.
So you'll see here, we're speaking to the baseline of being, for 1st through 5th grade, average 32% proficiency in mathematics for all students. And then it talks about what it wants that growth to be. So when you are asking the question about 1 year's growth or 1.5 years growth, that particular measurement is going to be based upon each student specifically. So what it's going to take for one student to the next student to actually grow will be different. And so that's why the proficiency levels are there. And so how we're tracking that, if you want to call it that, or progress monitoring, is through an NWEA, is kind of what we're using to measure the level and the rate of growth student to student. And so the goal, of course, is that would be 100% of students, of course, growing at least 1 year or 1.5 years, but we're using our NWE data to do that progress monitoring throughout the school year. And then, of course, informal, formal assessments by teachers.
Okay, most interesting. So I guess essentially, I'm just throwing out, so at Cumberland, at the end of the year, well, there's more than 5 kids, but there are 5 kids who are at Cumberland. And we're going to check each one of them, this kid was proficient, but they actually only made half a year's growth. Or, this kid was proficient and they made 1 year's growth. This kid was not proficient, they made 2 years growth. This kid was not proficient, they only made 3 months growth. At the end of the year, is Cumberland, not that we have to see all that, that's more granular, but will Cumberland see that level of data for each one of their students?
That is the goal, and that is what we're working on. And so the work that we've been doing with the Benson Institute, with their principals and the coaching, and also with our leadership team, is around improving our progress monitoring. Right now, our best tools, we're using CORE and we're using the NWEA, but the other thing that we're engaged in is what are some other tools that we can begin to utilize to give us that more 4 to 6 week type measuring. Our benchmarks are good, we have that. But we're trying to figure out what is the next best tool that we can use to integrate with those two. And so far, we have not found one that will give us any greater gains than what we currently have. And we also don't want to test for the sake of testing. So we're being cautious about what we choose and spending more of our time coaching our instructional leaders on how to hold teams accountable to the progress monitoring and how do we do a good job of that so that it does a better job of informing our instructional practices.
Yeah, thank you. And then just last, this is just kind of anecdotal, right? So for me, the priority is students who are not proficient, right? Focusing there. But I have kids who are academically advanced, right? And I can't remember which one of my kids and what year, but one of the years, my kid literally decreasing. So they still were above proficient, but their scores decreased as the year went on, right? Which is not what, right? That means that kid was probably not getting challenged, was not, right? So that's kind of also why I'm hopefully as we work on this, right, again, priority is getting kids proficient, but also kids who are proficient,
that's why it's
still
at least
helping
a
them
grade,
grow.
that's why it's at least 1 year of growth or more, because if you are on grade level and doing well, we still want to see at least 1 year of growth for any student.
Okay, that's everything. Thank you.
Sorry, my brain's stuck on that. So hypothetically, if I have a fourth grader who's performing at a fifth grade level, does a year of growth mean that he would be performing at a sixth grade level the next year?
Not necessarily, it would be based upon standards and what we're assessing on, so I'm just gonna make these numbers up now, they had 60%, they're in fourth grade or whatever. But as you're taking their benchmark, assessments, you should be seeing a level of, and rate of growth based upon, on their proficiency levels within that content that they're testing on.
Because your rate of growth is going to.
The rate of growth.
Higher to the top, right?
Yeah, that makes sense, okay. Okay, great, so that's based on benchmarking, okay, yeah, okay. I have a just process question, how are these put together? I know that the school site councils and the English language ELACs that each of the schools have input, but is the bulk of this assembled by the principal or the school site council, or who are the people assembling this?
Well, it's a combination, so team is myself, Paul Sladen, Christina Valentine, and Mr. Arthur here. So we support the principals with what I consider the logistical and the compliance pieces that need to be in the plan, so we work through that. So that the dots are connecting to our bigger goals as a district. We also ensure that they are identifying the required groups within their plan based upon performance from CAS testing. So like ATI schools who have attendance, for example, not all of our schools have that. Being sure that those that do incorporate that into their plans. So we do that, and then also just ensuring that some of the progress monitoring that they're putting in, is it realistic? Is it possible? Can you really measure that? And if they're stuck, to kind of guide them with that. They then take that in addition and getting feedback to whether they're either student council, students on the campus, their parents, their ELAC, and then their site council groups, taking that draft plan details and some of the elements I just described, also explaining those elements to their school teams in the most appropriate way, take that input, fine tune it, and then that becomes your final plans.
Alright, so district staff and the principal work together, present this to school stakeholders, the site council, and then present it like say at a meeting, say a monthly meeting, and then they give that input during that meeting, and that's incorporated into all this, and then put out, and this is what we're seeing now?
That's correct, except we don't present that with the principals, they do that independent themselves at their school sites.
Okay, thank you, I was just like, this is so much, and I thought that it was like assembled by those volunteers at the school site council, and I was like, oh my god, did they know what they were signing up for? So.
It's like a principal narrative.
Yeah, that makes sense. So thank you so much for all this work. This is so thorough. Yeah, it was quite a read, quite a few nights of reading.
And thank you for reading it, because they put a lot of time and effort into these plans for sure.
Okay, great.
Okay, so, yeah, I wanna thank all the time that went into this as well, because I really feel, I'm so excited that there's actually data in it this year, right? Because we had a couple years where there's no comparative data, right? And it was just like, here's our thoughts on how we did, but like, it's blank, there's like nothing to see, right? So, there's lots more data this time. It definitely feels bigger than last year. I think it's like at least a couple hundred pages larger. And some of it, like just for formatting for our review, I'm sure these documents are all uploaded like at the intended to be uploaded at the individual sites, school site websites, like that's where I've seen them before.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand why all the extra information is in each one, like how to fill out the form, you know, like all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, we're seeing this again. So I get it, but that isn't all of it. I mean, there's just a lot of information in here. Even though there's a lot of information in here, I think I made the comment in the packet, it would be really helpful to have some just very brief appendices or links in there, like whether it's for the CASP, interpreting the CASP scores, or the ones of, you know, like the one that I found, what I was looking at was I just couldn't get my head around what does points below grade level or what does that even mean, right? And so I found a link And it was really showing that for the CAS scores, for the points above or below grade level, if you look at their ranges, the distance between them gets smaller as the kids get older. So like that's why like in 8th grade, if you're 100 points below standard, you're farther below than like if you were in 6th grade and you were 100 points below. Like it's just the distance between.
Because the older you get, yes.
Because it's like either there's 40 points between grade levels and then like 15 points between grade levels, right? So like say middle school students are 100 points below grade level, a group of them, that is, like it means different things depending on how old they are. So, but what really struck me was I went to this thing at Valley Water last week for unhoused people. It was all about, because Valley Water deals with a lot of encampments and people within encampments and safety issues, and so, but I was telling Mike, one of the things that struck me was one of the people on the panels that they had said, you know, look, we're working with a large complex problem, and it's overwhelming, it's just enormous, with limited time, and we have to fail forward in public spaces, and we're affecting people's lives along the way. So I wanna say, like, I appreciate all the growth that we are seeing, you know, but there's still, and I wanna celebrate that. I think it's important to celebrate the growth that we're seeing throughout here, and the analysis in here is like, makes me so grateful for the community of educators that is like really thinking about the problems and mapping out the plan, right? But it's an immense problem, and I feel like I really hope that as we go forward with like plans for the future, that we lean in and do some things that are a bit more radical, are a bit more, you know, whether it's career and technical education funding money that comes in and brings in programs, whether it's different school focuses, or whether it's like developing ideas that really push the community forward. Like, so just Port Bishop was like the first one I read, so I just like really like, that's the one I really looked at the most, but I mean, I looked at them all and I read them all, but like, but what happened was like, because it was alphabetical, like I compared every other thing I read to Bishop, right? Because
I was the most awake.
Because yeah, so you're going through and then you're like, and then wait, what did they
Next
say?
year we can do reverse alphabetical order.
Yeah, like there could be a mix maybe of something. But like, so for instance, like when they said, okay, for in their language arts student performance group seated, they said, and his math was a different story. Math, there was like great growth in all groups. But looking at the growth between the Hispanic population and the white population, like on pages 21 and 22, or 21 and 23. Like, so the Hispanic group is red. They were 70 in language arts, 75.5 standards below. And the white students were 5.5%. They increased significantly, 35.3. And then we sort of, but the Hispanic group kind of maintained, right? And then there was growth in math on page 23 for Hispanic group. There's 81, they're farther below, but they increased 11 points. But then the white students increased significantly, 46.4 points. So like when I see that, I didn't see in the narrative any discussion about like, hey, were there more different people moving in? You know, like there could be all these other factors that we're not really aware of. But as I went through, I saw other schools that were like really talking more about culturally responsive teaching, or leaning into their, you know, affinity groups, and like leaning into like some of the work that like Katie Rowland was talking about doing at San Miguel, right? And I just thought, oh, well, maybe like this is where I would like some of that cross learning to happen. And then the other thing was like, when I read for Cherry Chase, there was one point where it's like, okay, things didn't match up, what are you gonna do for next year, right? And so the team at Cherry Chase, how they put it was they said, okay, paraeducators are gonna do this, the leadership team's gonna do this, teachers are gonna do this. Whereas like at other schools, it was like, they were like, well, we're doing walkthroughs, or we're doing like, it was just, we're gonna check and make sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to do, and there's accountability. And it was just a very different feeling, right? So I like getting into the principals' heads on it, and I think if there was maybe like now that we have like our first document, maybe there'd be a way to say like, well, if we were like trying to read this as a narrative for like what we can learn about it, what are some things that are common threads, right? Like where's the common thread of the analysis for like an executive summary for the board? Like common threads we're seeing throughout, like, hey, guess what? All the school sites are spending 10 grand on consumables. Everyone's buying pencils and we're giving everyone erasers this year. But other than that, like those common threads of like working with the culturally responsive teaching or consultants or the data stuff. I mean, I don't know if there's a way to tease that out or present it or.
I'm trying to clarify, because I do understand and I do hear about the common threads. I think we'll have to process as a team, because I think the intent of the school achievement plans is, yes, common threads, but not really. It really should be an individualized plan for each school based upon their culture, who they serve, what is their data saying, some resources that are at one school just because of maybe something unique they found that works, it may not work at another school. So some of that common thread is a little bit more difficult because it is really a plan dedicated to each school site.
Okay, so is there anyone in teaching and learning, is there anyone who like looks at it, like, because we're all reading it, but is there anyone who's like looking at it and going, oh, like there's like this school could really benefit from the strategies from this other school? Like, is there any?
I don't think it happens from reading the school plan.
No, right.
That happens just all the time.
Yeah, but just to answer the question, yes, the team that I just described, that's what we've done from the beginning to the end with this process. We also had office hours where they came and collaborated together, meaning the principals, to actually come through on their plans, got ideas that they like, some ideas they feel like, hey, that's a great idea, but I don't think that'll work at my school for whatever reason. So there were multiple opportunities for that kind of cross collaboration on ideas, and they all even made an agreement that they all have access and can read each other's plans, whereas before that wasn't there. So that was their agreement that they made together as colleagues so that they can support each other through this process.
Then my last comment is about the music, because a lot of parents have been asking me about like the increase in music access. And then when we talked to Tasha in packet review, it was explained that the students themselves actually are not getting more music with the increased teachers. What's happening is it's distributed across more grade levels, so TK and pre-K are getting music. So the students are not actually getting more music or arts instruction. That was the answer for the additional funding. Because I was like asking about
So I'm gonna need some more clarity on that, because I thought we were doing starting arts and then we had this teacher.
That is correct. So the additional has allowed us to expand through preschool. So now we're able to serve our entire continuum from preschool to 8th grade, whereas before some grade levels were not being addressed in our program.
So like they have starting arts now as well?
That is, well, what we did is we moved starting arts to upper or early, so preschool to 2nd grade, 3rd grade. And then 4th and 5th grade are being served by our teachers across the district.
So referring to that now, as you say also in the package, before we had like few weeks or 3
lots of 8 weeks, so little by little we've been adding and adding. And now during most of the year, they have at least half an hour. Everybody has at least half an hour a week.
Yes, everyone has at least 30 minutes, yes, a week, at least.
And there are
Some
even
have
some
more for
grades that have
different
after
reasons, but at least that much per week, yes.
And there are like some grades that have after school because they have a play and during the year.
That is correct.
Okay. Sorry, you done with your-
No, go ahead.
Okay. So, yeah, I had so I saw at least, well, 2 of them called for and then you specify the Anti-Racism Leadership Institute that is a program that gets all the way down to the people who work with the kids, are the teachers. And then there are a couple that they are also mentioning in their plan equity directly with their plans and their lessons. Over the last years, we've been working from the top, the cabinet, the principals, and we're going, well, down on the pyramid with everybody, making sure that they receive enough training as part of what we are doing and how we're teaching. So right now, every teacher and everybody on the site somehow have received the training that we want them to have, the standards that we want everybody to work with from now on, related to equity and anti-bias?
Yes and no. So the general yes, information around what does it mean to be a culturally responsive teacher? How do I infuse that into my instructional practice? Yes. Getting down to the more significant teacher level or I would say just staff level is really how to do that as a part of your instruction in mathematics, how to do that in your ELA, social studies, what have you. Who are you talking about? How are you talking about them? Are you including your student voices? So it's more in the instructional practice level now that we're trying to get to those concepts while we continue to educate ourselves around those that are in our community, who they are and what they need, and really just getting away from, oh, you're African American, you need this, or you this and you need this, but really getting to student by student level, just as our promise says, but using those culturally responsive practices that are infused in classrooms all day, every day.
Okay. Yeah, because, well, this tied to the last meeting where we were looking at the numbers and the disparity between different races and different groups.
Yes.
So we are trying to, change that pretty much.
Yeah, and strengthen our practices so that we ensure that it's not in any way prohibiting or creating anxiety for any kid that's in their classroom, that they feel engaged, they feel a part of that school and class community so that they can be independent learners. And I would say the other big area that we're trying to focus in on is sometimes in our desire to be helpful, we actually are harmful because we create dependent learners. And so we're really trying to challenge ourselves as educators to be sure that we're positioning each child to be an independent learner and also believe that they actually can. So that's a big part of our work, I would say, on pretty much a daily basis.
And how do you do that? What do you mean exactly on the plan? Like what is the difference between the instruction and the intervention and the part of them being independent?
That would go again into the instructional practices, like don't give so much information sometimes, let kids struggle a little bit, that productive struggle that you've heard us talk about a little bit. Being sure we're giving kids an opportunity to do that in mathematics, where it's difficult reading, whether it's the comprehension of what the book actually meant, give them time to try to figure out how to get to those details with the appropriate scaffolds, with the appropriate prompts. If the kid needs it on auditory, give it auditorily so that they can get the content, but don't prohibit them from the struggle. It's very important that they have a productive struggle so that they can advance and become the independent learners we want them to be.
Now, as a curiosity, about a year and a half or something like that, we met one of the people we met was the Hispanic Foundation. They were gonna give some training for schools and they had some after-school program money that they could give away. How did that ended up?
I'm not sure, I know which group you're.
The Hispanic Foundation, I think we talked to Tasha about that.
Yeah, she was in the meeting, yeah.
What we kind of went with was the Valdez Math
I think that's
Foundation is what we got from that. But anything beyond that, we have not necessarily engaged in that. Some of those outside programs unfortunately don't sometimes meet our schedules. That's one of the big problems, of when they need to come in, it may not match our school sites. But I think the biggest piece we got from that particular piece was, giving the Valdez Math Foundation an opportunity to work with our students this past summer. We're always looking at opportunities, but the grants and the fundings, they sound nice. But once you get into some of them, when what you actually have to do and what they actually are providing to you ends up being not so productive to what we're trying to accomplish, given the amount of time and effort you put into the grant to get what often is a small amount of funds for what we're trying to accomplish.
I have a quick comment. I think on the soft copy in the PDF that we were sent, Vargas isn't on there.
This one?
On the soft copy, like the one uploaded to Assembly and the one in our board packet, it's missing Vargas. Like I had Vargas in my hard copy, but it's not in PDF.
That's interesting, it's the same document, okay.
Yeah, it ends up as SMS.
Okay.
You're right.
We should fix that.
Okay.
So I have one other comment. If we're, so the challenge always has been that we keep on, the challenge has always been that the form factor keeps on changing. And that's the reason why I asked, do we anticipate that this may be the form factor that will be around at least for a little while, so that there's mastery of how to effectively write a program and be consistent in what it is that how you're documenting it. I think that's just a huge, in addition to personal writing styles, understanding what the form is wanting and asking is also a big thing. And it's been revolving for a number of years. And so to have some stability is super, super important. And so I anticipate that some of your concerns may be addressed over time and familiarity with not only the document itself, but how to use the information that's in the document to further inform your practice and such. And I want to remind everybody that even though they subdivide into different categories, it's all about the individual child. We don't know, like you were talking about test scores. I'm looking at chronic absenteeism. If you're not there, you're not going to be able to perform. So I don't know, looking at trends can be helpful, but it's more, do the school sites know each child by name and what is it that they individually need? And this is the best vehicle that we have to kind of document the entire group, but each school site and each by its very nature is unique. And so it's more important to me that we're trying to document intervention for the individual child through this new process that we're doing, and it'll take this entire year of having more frequent evaluations in that cycle, I think, before we see some significant progress being made. So it's going to be an exciting journey this year.
Yes.
So, like, I understand that, every child's unique. I think the whole message of the Sunnyvale Promise is to, knowing each child by name, strength and need. I love that, right? And what I was trying to say was, you know, when you see like Lakewood is one of the few schools in here that the students in all groups increase significantly, right? But like Vargas, I was just looking at Vargas and they have, it's one of those ones where the white kids increased significantly and the Hispanic kids did not, or like San Miguel was even. And it's like when you see like the Hispanic community, like even though we're not saying, well, we just assume what they need because they're Hispanic, but I think if you say like this whole group of children is underserved. I mean, they're underserved in some way, and I get it that we're connecting with the kids one-on-one and we're working and we're looking for that incremental change, but there are multiple grade levels below standard, and it's a large population and they're standing out compared to other people. So what is it that we need to do to better serve this population? And I'm not assuming that they're Hispanic, it's just they're identified as Hispanic, and it's just a number, and it's a trend that we have across multiple sites. So, you know, I think it's just, I mean, that's something where I would say, well, that is something that says we need to lean in more on whatever it is that the culturally responsive teaching for that group, because we need to make our practice better.
Yeah, but I understand that part, like, yeah, we are looking at the child, every child is unique. And that is what we're putting there as the center of the promise of the kids who are. We don't want to assume anything just because they are in a group that does what we know that they need. We need to see everybody, but I think after so many years of training with equity, we kind of understand that is that. But on the other hand, after so many years of equity, we still have a group that when you go in particular grades, we have numbers like, oh, only, I don't know which grade, kids in fourth grade, for say something, probably it's not like we only have 4 Hispanic kids who are on level of math in X grade, and that keeps happening only in that group. So that's why we keep asking the question, even though we know that not all Hispanic kids need something in particular, because that would be very racist and completely against everything we have been learning since we start learning about equity. We do understand that there is a systemic issue, and if all the training from the top down hasn't been effective so far, maybe we need to double down, change the things, or find a new program, or make sure that the people who is actually in front of the kid understand everything the way that we understand they should. What is this minimum standard that we want them to understand? Do we need to give new material? So this question needs to be renewed every year, because we just had data last week that we are improving, but we're failing very badly. And on the other hand, yes, we are very happy that the kids need to be on the classroom, and we are very proud, and I think we should be very proud that we have 98% of kids going to school, and we have been improving, and that is something to celebrate. But on the other hand, I also get frustrated that 60% of the reports is about that, when it's like, yeah, okay, like, we're very happy, we're here, they're happy, they are saying that they feel safer, they're at school, but what about the other 40%, which is, do they know how to add, multiply, divide? Why are they 3 years behind? The other part also needs a lot of care and effort now. Now that we came to this step, now there is still quite a few miles to get to the other side, not just getting into the classroom.
I'm wondering about the Juntos numbers for San Miguel, because when San Miguel went from being just elementary to going to the middle school, we had that transition meeting, and for Juntos, and they presented it and they showed us that the data was showing that in 3rd and 4th grade, they were not performing as the neighborhoods students and the Juntos kids were performing about the same or maybe a little below standard, but by 4th and 5th grade, the Juntos students were performing above standard. And, you know, at a higher rate. And so, like, it was looking like the Juntos program was a significant impact. And so I'm curious because San Miguel is a school where it's like very whole school, very holistic in their approach, right? Like the library, the parent groups, all the activities, the field trips, like there's lots of things that are all school. And, you know, but I'm wondering if there's anything we can glean from the participation or, you know, even, you know, the curriculum of multilingual education.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it's not in the school plan, but the numbers are we gonna get a Juntos presentation this year or like is that already?
The program.
Is there an update or?
We can try to fit it into the schedule if that's something the board wants.
Yeah, because we don't have any more, do we have any more about new programs? So we won't have in the schedule for this year each of the programs again.
Because if it's something that is working,
Yeah.
like, let's talk about expanding or building on it somehow, you know?
I think that data is tricky, right? We don't spend time, but like, right, thinking about a data, if you could control for all of the variables and the number was higher, that would give you the message. But we cannot really control for all other variables.
I mean, like for socioeconomically disadvantaged.
Yeah, the demographics of the two, yeah, right? Like that would be the biggest one.
Because,
And
yeah.
school site staffing and other dynamics too.
Yeah, so it'd be hard to say.
Still, it's good to know how they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and also like in the neighborhood program at San Miguel, for instance, like I know it's sensitive because you have teachers there who teach in just the neighborhood program, right? But at the same time, like that neighborhood strand is a lot like that neighborhood strand at Fairwood where it's the same kids every year. They all go up together, right? There's only one class. There's no movement, there's no changing of that group, right? So, I mean, I'm really interested if we could factor for socioeconomically disadvantaged or some balance. You know, I'd really be interested to know if the bilingual education model is something that should be whole school or should be satellited out. I think Nancy's brought up before, like maybe it should go to Bishop, like as a satellite or Vargas or have some other school where there could be a satellite strand.
So if you remember, I did ask that in the presentation.
Yeah.
For those specific cohorts so that we could see if there's anything consistently that we can understand. So that ask for I did,
Yeah.
and I believe staff is going to be looking at specific cohorts in their overall reporting.
But okay, so I think there's an interest, I mean, honestly. I mean, I don't know if there's an interest from the rest of the board in understanding that more. Because multilingual education is bilingual education. Juntos and other multilingual education programs are supposed to be.
If that's a topic that the board would like us to bring back later, I can talk it over with
They need
them.
direction, if that is a
I mean, I
topic.
think the tricky space is like, this is the second or third item, but I'm not disagreeing that these are important topics, but I can't fully get behind it unless I'm looking at almost like a prioritization, like
Yeah,
there
we
are
can-
10 things we care about, we can do 5.
We tend to
what
do
can
that
fit
in February, don't we?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, is like, I don't disagree that's a topic, but I don't know if I would want that over one of the other 10.
So maybe we can look at the
You know what I'm
top,
saying,
we can look at the topics in February as we
Mm-hmm.
typically do. Okay.
Okay, so, we are doing break time apparently.
Well,
Yeah, 9:15, something like 30.
no, it's supposed to be 9. But it's fine.
Okay, we have until, 9. Yeah, so, and with that, I think we are
have to vote to
ready, to vote. So, everybody who
wants to approve, please say aye. Aye. Nancy?
She said
Yes,
aye.
Okay. So, then we have an unanimous aye for everybody, and it's approved. We have school plans for this year. And with that, we can move to the next item 11, which is future meetings and the adjournment of tonight. I wanna express my gratitude to the translators as usual. They are a vital service that we're very happy to have you. And our next meeting will be in November 7th. Hopefully that will be a very happy week. And it will be at 6 p.m. and it's a regular board meeting. We are looking forward to celebrate that day. Right.
Oh, yeah.
It is, and it is 9:15.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
I know,